Hello and welcome to Bad End Podcast. This is the end of the year 2021 special. The Gotys are here. I am joined as always by my co-host Kyle Cookstill. Kyle.
Hello.
How's it going? And we also have some special guests from the Superculture gang. You've seen them on the show before. They are reprising their roles. We got Yusuf Cole. Yusuf Cole, how's it doing? How's it going? How's it doing?
Doing good. It's going great. I'm ready to talk Goty.
Not to be confused.
Happy to be here.
Gotye, somebody that I used to know. Irony. We got Zach Coetzer. Zach, how's it going?
Shout out to all my fellow COVID havers.
COVID getting over.
COVID getting over. Yesterday was my release day. I'm allowed back into the world, just in time for rumors to spread that Canada is shutting everything down again.
Oh shit!
It's the message is crystal clear though. They don't want me to stop playing Halo, and I hear them. I hear them loud and clear. My country demands me to continue playing Halo Infinite, and I have no choice but to heed the call.
And then last but not least, we've got Reed McCarter. Reed, how's it going?
Hi, I'm here. Sorry I don't have video. I'm actually recording from Premier of Ontario Doug Ford's bathroom, trying to get the scoop on whether or not we will be having another lockdown, so I can tell Zach whether to go outside or not.
Well, we are glad to be in the company of such illustrious colleagues. 21 has been a year for video games. We were talking about filler earlier today, I should say, in our Discord, which, by the way, support some of us on Patreon if you want access to the Superculture Discord. But we were talking about filler, and I feel like this year was just like a filler year.
I was like looking at game lists that were to prep for this of like best games of 2021, and like a lot of the lists was like, yeah, I mean that did come out this year. That could be on a 2021 list, but
I was trying so hard to find my like top 5, and I was having trouble. I was drawing big blanks. Like I got three that I like feel confident in this year.
I got like 2, and I'm like like the third one I was like, I guess like I'm not gonna put Metroid Dread on my list. I'm sorry. A game is not good enough to be a top game of the year. I don't even want to expand my list to make it bigger.
It's a good game, but it's like
it's fine,
I don't know,
but it's not a top game of
2021. Right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we haven't played enough. I feel I have, but the thing is, I was looking over the stuff I played, and it's a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is stuff that I enjoyed playing, but none of it is stuff that really feels like if I want to look back on the year, I want to be like, this is one of the best 5 games this year. Not sure how you
really save those movie theater seats for that date that isn't coming, don't you?
I respect my pick is how I would describe it. My pick means a lot. I don't want to go on the record saying Metroid Dread was one of the best games of 2021.
So that being said, all of this stuff is okay because we don't really need to just talk about, I think we lost Yusuf here, which is screwing up some of the other video. Zach's face is like cut in half.
It looks great. It looks like he's sort of lording over the video chat.
You look like
I can be your angel or your devil.
You look like the train guy.
God.
For a second.
I broke it. Sorry.
Francis Bourgeois. Okay. That being said, we don't only have to talk about the best games of the year because Bad End, we have a special thing that we like to do here where we
do it a little different.
We do things a little bit differently from what you're used to. We're not the Game Awards.
What?
We're not. Yeah, this isn't the Game Awards.
I thought we were gonna have like 40 world exclusives tonight.
We have world exclusive categories. So I was thinking we maybe split this episode into like our special categories that we do.
Yeah, come back.
Talking about talking about our like
Actual
trends, and then like actual Gotys stuff. So we can start out with either trends or our own categories. What do you feel like doing first?
Let's start with trends.
Trends? Okay. All right. Well, do any of you guys have anything off the top of your head? Because the big one that I kind of noticed this year was like a trend in games in general, and not so much like an industry thing, just like in how games are coming out, which is the whole time loop thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What
year for time loops?
What's up with that? What's up with the time? Okay, I made a little list here. Y'all will probably was Returnal a time loop game?
It was a roguelike, not an actual time loop.
It was. I think it was.
I think it has a time loop.
Could you like wake up in the same place? I didn't play it.
Okay.
Actually, here we go. Let me enter. I don't know. World exclusive interruption of category introduction. Best game nobody played. Returnal. There's no competition. That game is like surprise appeared on every 2021 best of list, and I know
it's because it's a PS5 exclusive. There's a lot.
Yeah, it's because only journalists.
There's no way to play it.
It sucks.
Only game journalists get access to the PS5.
Yeah, all I wanted was to.
Did anyone in this chat even play It Takes Two? Or
I did.
No.
I actually did play It Takes Two.
Did you?
Reed and I have played a little bit of it.
Yeah.
We had a date. We had a bullet points date.
It takes
me and Reed.
It takes 2 seconds to turn this game off. I am. It's.
You turn it off when you got to the really weird book that's quasi-racist, like
no,
Spanish.
I didn't turn it off at that
Book.
I was definitely like,
Joseph.
what the fuck am I watching when that guy came on the screen?
That was violence.
Which book do you think is more horrifying to behold? That book or Lolita by Nabokov?
It's a great question, but
real
I don't know if we have the space to discuss that topic here.
It's a separate episode topic.
Yeah, time loops. Let's get back to time loops. We got Death Loop. Okay, we got 12 minutes.
We got Outer Wilds
real
DLC.
Best game of the year.
Outer Wilds DLC.
We got the Forgotten City, which I didn't play.
That's a time loop game?
Yeah, it is.
And we got Loop Hero.
And we got Loop Hero.
And what about
You can rewind in Forza.
That's a time loop game. You can just be doing the same section of track over and over again and never proceed.
Yeah.
Minute is a time
loop. That function of that game makes me feel like, what are we really doing here? Like, it's handy to have because like screwing up a race in the last 20 seconds is frustrating. But being able to like redo every turn in a racing game is like, I'm not really playing this game anymore. I'm like observing it. I'm a visiting space god, punishing all of those who foolishly went up against me. He who controls time.
I don't know what the time loop thing was, man. I don't. It's like I don't. There's not like a precedent.
Where did it come from? So I mean, Outer Wilds feels like somewhat of an origin point. Minute definitely were like kind of before, ahead of the curve with that stuff. But it doesn't feel like something where it's like of this era, that's something that needed to be made. It doesn't feel like a vital thing that will last forever. Like it doesn't have that like roguelike thing where it's like, oh yeah, it was only a matter of time before this genre became big and like became the thing. But I feel like it's almost there's this recursive thing about games where they're just always looking at themselves and always like just reiterating on themselves. And to me, the time loop thing is just like a lampshading of that, where it's like, yeah, video games are always doing the same thing over and over again. And it's like the time loop game to me feels like almost some half-assed recognition of that in a way that is like trying to enrich the story by just being like, games tend to loop a lot, and that's just what our game is going to do, and we're cool with that, and we're going to embrace it. That's what this feels like to me. I don't know if you have any alternate takes on it.
My opinion that I think I said when Outer Wilds came out was that the time loop conceit is sort of interesting because it allows you to have potentially a sort of richer tapestry of interaction in a more constrained space. So if your game, excuse me, if your game is open world, right, you have to sort of design for like the open world, whereas a time loop is like you can only go so far and you can only do so much. And there can sort of be like a lot of knock-on effects of what happens in those sort of small moments. So I sort of see it as like, it's weird because as a conceit, right, it doesn't work necessarily mechanically. It has to have a sort of narrative beat. And so while people might never get tired of first-person shooters, you can really easily get tired of like a time loop story. Like every story doesn't need to be a time loop story. But that said, like right now, I think there's ways where something like a time loop is kind of an interesting solve for, I don't know, the excesses of game production, where it constrains it to say like, well, we want to give you an experience that's like a very, very rich, dense, meaningful 15 minutes. But obviously you cannot sell a game that is a linear experience for 15 minutes. So you kind of implement mechanisms that sort of loop back. I think of like there's a precedent actually as I talk about this, something that's like, it's like how the games industry approaches roguelikes. Because roguelikes, you know, you move forward, you die, or whatever. That is sort of a design decision that people might not see as necessarily like conducive to a wider market, but something about a time loop kind of narrativizes that to say like, oh, well, you didn't die. Like you as a player are not fucking up and dying or something. We're looping you back because X, Y, or Z reason. So you sort of maintain the agency and like feeling of like power or whatever, but without that sort of like hard gear check filter moment of just getting like wrecked by a roguelike.
Good like game about a time loop and a good roguelike share this sort of like it makes it the best kind of design is you really feel like the information you retain from each death is going to be meaningful the next time that you play. And that's something, you know, that's something that's really good about a game like Minute. That's something that's really good about a game like Spelunky, even if the way you end up using that knowledge can be sort of different in how passive it is or how direct it is. And that's a key element there. And like in the best of these games, you can use that knowledge to like not only get ahead, but shorten the process as well. Like in Minute, there's little shortcuts you don't know about there the entire time. And I haven't played Deathloop, but I'm sure that's a big part of that as well. Little exploits you discover along your way. And just because you're playing this video here, that is one important lesson among many that 12 minutes fucks up colossally.
Amongst many things it fucks up.
Amongst many things that it fucks up. On top of everything else, everything you do in that game, you have to set up the dominoes over and over and over again. All these horrible little dominoes of all these little, of truly unpleasant things that you have to do to like progress it all. And the game's like, no, you got to do it again and again and again.
Arguably
and again.
The most, just the biggest abomination of a domino that we could possibly have, which has since become a meme in our Discord. Which is just like you just doing just despicable acts over and over again. Yeah, I like this idea of the time loop game as this like, it's a narrativized form of the roguelike gameplay mechanism, which is to like
without
repeat
needing
things.
you to like do roguelike stuff.
Exactly.
Not everybody like to like get their ass fucking beat playing a video game.
What the funny thing too is that it still feels like, to me at least, it feels like Outer Wilds did this best. Like everything that we're talking about this doing well are things that Outer Wilds did the best. So we're talking about
your
this
knowledge
trend.
is power.
Exactly. Like at the end of the game, you still have 20 minutes or whatever to win or to beat the game, but like all the knowledge that you've acquired over the course of the game is what allows you to do it, despite the fact that it's the same 20 minutes that you've had this whole time. You're not gaining anything besides knowledge that allows you to do this, but because the universe is such a big place, it's implemented in a way that feels revolutionary.
Yeah. That's great because it's like the universe is a big place, but it's also a small place, depending on the knowledge you have. That's what's like the game is that plays with scale in such fascinating ways. Like you can just go directly to the end, and that always feels awesome when you get to do that.
Right. Uh,
So many things in the Outer Wilds makes me feel like Michael Rappaport staring down that weird cat. But I know at some point down the line in this game, I'm gonna find out what exactly that fucked up thing is, and I'm gonna learn how to like navigate it and use it to like solve this mystery. Like those warping rocks, like you'll come across something just like truly strange in Outer Wilds, and you just have to like tell yourself like there's probably like eventually gonna be a moment in this game where this makes sense, or maybe it doesn't, and I forget about it, and
it does.
it just becomes one of those little mysteries.
Yeah, God, what a moment.
It's like maybe kind of interesting though that like.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Josh. I was just gonna say like it's kind of interesting though that we have all these time loop games from this year, and then like the one that everyone is kind of like, yeah, this one's good. It does it well. Is one that I guess it had like an expansion this year, right? But it's like, yeah, it kind of sneaks in on a technicality. Because like I like. Oh, sorry.
What about like Hitman 3? Hitman 3, not Hitman.
Hitman.
There's like Hitman. You can sort of see that as a time loop game because it's about like it's like similar, right? Where there's a set period of time you kind of go through and do an action.
This is like take. This is light take territory.
This isn't a hot take. This is just like
all games are the time loop game.
Yeah,
that's the
when
essence.
You think about
take.
it, you have to sit down. Well, no, because I think like a thing about time loop games as a genre, maybe besides Returnal, is that you like there are like often complex moving pieces that you can just sort of go to the end if you know the stuff, and I think that Hitman actually has a lot of that, right? Where you have to play the level to figure out the sort of right dominoes to press at the right times. And then once you know that, you can like do stuff maybe along the way to get to that point. But then the next time you sort of go. And it's not quite like run based because you're not really trying to like get a better score or something. Instead, you're trying to like do a specific action, which I think is maybe the difference between like Hades and like games that are scoring you effectively, or not. Oh, sorry, games that aren't scoring you based on how you're moving through those.
We got a
periods.
comment.
Hitman feels like
Hitman is the game where you plan the heist and explore every eventuality of it, which I think is what you're saying in kind of a little bit of a boiled down kind of way, which I can get on board with that. Hitman only works if Agent 47 behaves as if he has psychic foresight. Yeah,
which feels like non-diegetic time comprehension.
You're exploiting your knowledge of what happens in the scenario in order to do it in an aesthetically pleasing way.
And someone here is bringing up Dark Souls as a time loop game, and I would actually say Dark Souls is not a time loop game. I don't know if you're trying to be like funny or not. I thought that was a joke. I think it's a joke, but I think it's worth considering, right? Because we're sketching around that. Because something like Dark Souls, even if you know, you don't ever really get more information that lets you proceed past a point without you executing that act. Whereas like Hitman, Outer Wilds, 12 minutes, whatever, Deathloop, you can sort of beeline to a specific goal, skipping a lot of stuff along the way. And Dark Souls and the Souls games in general are very much about like, no, you have to do everything. Like you don't get to just skip a boss. There's like optional bosses, right? But like there's like hard checks where it's like you have to get through the Undead Burg. You don't get to get around the Undead Burg.
Yeah.
You have to move through that.
At the same time, though, I mean, like I always see Dark Souls in the same way as like the best time loop movie, which is Edge of Tomorrow. The movie is so sick. But the feeling of entering an encounter and being like, I know he's gonna dive right, I can go left. He's going to like block, I can like parry, and then just that knowing like kind of seeing like the chess moves laid out in front of you, and like if you've played it any number of times, it feels like you're just like you're basically executing a rehearsed dance. Which is like for me, I mean that's why like stuff like I mean I love Groundhog's Day, I love Edge of Tomorrow, like those movies are so fun because they evoke that sense. And I don't think a lot of like time loop games actually do evoke that. Like I mean Deathloop doesn't really, like it's more just like a sandbox that's chaotic that you get to kind of play around in, and your choices don't really matter because like you're gonna reverse at the end of the day. So like it's more leaning to that sense of nothing mattering, which is I think is like kind of the less a compelling part of time loops than it is the part of just like this is all just a structure. This is all just like made up, and so like let me be the principal player in this like theatrical performance.
Yes.
The Dark Souls like example is like if it's all the chess moves and you find out you're still fucked. Like like there is no easy.
But like the difference for like a time loop game in Dark Souls, right, is that you get to skip the chessboard. I think that's like the thing where Dark Souls is like you can maybe do it faster, but like you're not moving through it.
Yeah.
Yusuf, did you see
That's
Palm Springs?
Also so good.
Good time loop movie. Good time.
I love time loop movies. One of my favorite genres.
I mean, I think part of it too is that like the sense that you are breaking the loop in a lateral way, or like using some mechanic that is parallel or it's on some different plane than you thought was even possible given the initial plane that you were on, which happens all the time in Outer Wilds where you're like, it looks like you have this very set universe in front of you, but you end up approaching the problem from some completely different angle than you would have ever thought possible at first. And that's what to the point where you almost like end up in a totally different space than you would initially envisioned, which I think is one of the more fun aspects and at least like one of the more interesting ones, because you're not just exploring space, you're exploring possibility, which I think is the real power of this genre. And I think that's one of the places that it could go in the future, but I don't think that the installments that we saw this year were cashing in on that to the extent that maybe they could be, which is kind of a disappointment to say.
Forgotten City is pretty good.
Okay.
I did play that, and like it's not 100% my cup of tea really. Like I don't like time loops that much. There's something about them that does feel kind of like artificial, or well, artificial of course, but like kind of like sort of throwaway in a sense. But Forgotten City does do a good job also of having a time loop that like has a narrative purpose that is trying to kind of say something about like the idea of kind of doing the same shit over and over again as a little micro society and kind of expecting different results, until someone kind of comes in and shakes the foundation of it a little bit. Like I don't think that game didn't bowl me over or anything, but I do think it's actually worthwhile in terms of like what it did with the idea of like a time loop for a game narrative.
This actually has me thinking about like something happening, I guess, parallel to this. I just want to mention this really offhandedly, but like one of the big themes in anime right now is this genre called isekai, which is like a reincarnation fantasy anime thing where like someone dies and they get reincarnated in another world where they're like really powerful or something like that. It's the whole theme is like being really powerful, knowing that what you've already known from your previous life and then applying that to this kind of new space.
Sounds like a time
loop. Interesting parallels. There's a lot of the similar things, time loopy things happening in those anime, and it's like really popular thing right now.
Sounds very like Buddhist, which I mean obviously like Groundhog's Day is like he literally said he was just copying Buddhism when he like came up with it.
Yeah, it's like it's just like samsara, right? Just you're doing it again and again and again until you figure out something that lets you, escape that.
We should all collectively submit like a.
We gotta move on.
What's it like the black?
We're in a loop, Kyle.
We're in a loop. Actually, so
a time loop movie about speedrunners at like.
I'm gonna end this time loop discussion to bring up a category that I think is semi-relevant. So instead of a time loop where you're just doing the same thing over and over, what was the best game you only played for like a day? It's the name of the category.
That's so many games for me. It's like Sable, Inscription. Chicory,
Death.
I'm like
Death
a few hours
into
100%
that for me. What else? Anybody else got one?
Best game you played for like a day. I played. I talked about it a little bit on the podcast. I played Hell Let Loose, which is the sort of like very hardcore World War II shooting game, and I was like, this game's great. Maybe I'll play it again at some point, but now is not the time.
I'm a freak, and I like treat playing games like picking up a book or something. I'm like, I kind of can't have more than 2, like max 3 going at the same time. And I'll finish it or just like toss it.
Definitely like that's mostly me, but I am chasing that high of like enjoying a game so much that I'll play it until 3 a.m. or something until I pass out on the couch.
Yeah, I can't do that because then it's like the equivalent of like getting drunk on a weeknight now, you know?
Yeah, we'll never recover if that happens.
No.
We'll be like 2 weeks behind.
Like, even this past weekend, I was playing. I was just like playing some Project Zomboid and then some other like random shit. And I played Icarus, and I was just hanging out with my friends, and it was like, I was like, I'm gonna play some games tonight. I'm gonna stay up till like 3 a.m. And then like I stayed up till 3 a.m. and was fucking feeling it until like Tuesday morning. I was like, I just can't fucking do it anymore. I'm old.
I can't remember too, like the last time a game made me want to do that.
I was gonna say that.
One.
Yeah.
I have one, but it's on my list that we'll talk about.
I did do that with Death Stranding, but mostly because I thought it was about to end, and then it turned out this.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-hour cutscene.
Oh my god, that ending is so long.
It rules. I think that's like a Kojima tradition. Is like you got to be watching those cutscenes and like you got to pee like really bad, and it's like 2:30 in the morning on a Thursday.
Yeah, it's like no, enjoy this beach and run around on the beach for a really long time.
Yeah. Someone mentioned Unsighted. That's a good one because I did only play that for exactly one day, and then it was like it like unfurls what the next 10 hours are going to be, and you're just like, I don't know if I can do this. And I did.
I totally missed Unsighted. I don't even know what that is.
My submission for this category is a Chivalry 2, which I just played at a friend's place and said this game rules, and then went home just thinking about how much it rules, even though I'd never played it since then.
That's fine, right? You don't have to finish a game. Sorry, Reed. You don't have to finish a game.
No.
Games are often like the worst thing to finish. Okay, I'm trying to
I finish a game if I like it. If I like it, or if I have to write about it, because I want to finish it.
Gamer score doesn't exist anymore.
I don't care about gamer score.
Yeah.
I want
I'm the same way, Reed. Yeah, I also like. Sometimes I fucking enjoy playing a game. Kyle, thanks very much.
I do too.
You turn off every movie like 3/4 of the way.
Movies are not a good comparison, bro.
Yeah,
movies are not a good comparison.
Yeah, I know. That's true. That's true. What if you were really enjoying reading? I was gonna be an asshole and say like the Bible. That's pretty long. You're like 3/4 of the way.
I usually
check out around page turner, bro. I gotta see what happens.
Can't wait
to Jesus.
see all these. Like, I want to hear all this kids' like grandchildren's names enumerated out.
No, you gotta get to the New Testament.
Completely.
No way, bro. New
Is that
Testament.
where it gets good?
New Testament rips.
That's not. Yeah. I don't know about the New Testament.
Start a holy war.
That's just DLC. Not interested. I just like the vanilla content.
Kyle's going out of order here. I don't know how.
Out of order? There's no order.
No, I wanna finish talking about some trends first.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were doing trends and then
No.
I thought we were switching.
Yeah, okay. No. Okay, so let's discuss like maybe 1 or 2 more trends, right? Like,
hit me with the trend.
Who's anybody got trends? I got games
NFTs.
as a service, NFTs. I don't
NFTs
want to talk
who's
about
played an
this.
NFT game?
I want to talk about NFTs. So, for number 1, fuck NFTs.
No
number
fucking
2,
thanks.
So number 2, I think the thing is that we're gonna see like. I just got that.
Got him.
Yeah.
I think like we got like the first little like burp from the games industry about 2 weeks ago when Ubisoft announced that they're doing NFTs as part of Siege. And I think like next year it'll be.
It wasn't even Siege. It was one of the other lesser Tom Clancy games.
I thought it was Siege. Is it not?
No, it's the one where you're like in the open wild jungle, right?
Yeah.
Far Cry. Regardless, Ubisoft has started doing NFTs for some of their games, and I think that next year it is going to be like the floodgates are going to open on
it's gonna suck.
Big AAA people doing stuff like this, or it goes away, which would be great. But I think like
the audience
it's been like
not.
It's been happening. It's been like happening on this like other part of gaming that like Baden doesn't normally talk about, not because it's like seedy. It's just like mobile game shit. and like it's like starting to take off over in that realm, and like people are wise. Granted, I think people hate it, but also, when's the last time a games company's done something that people hated? Like all the
also they're doing it for their investors, not for their audience.
Yeah, it's like the Kickstarter announcement where they were like, "We're doing NFT stuff." It's like that's not because creators want it; it's because like investors want to feel good about investing in Kickstarter. And saying you support NFTs is like a good reason to like get venture funding.
People have been complaining about DLC and like pay to win stuff and like exclusive content in games for such a long time now. Doesn't this just feel like a
yeah, but the question is like how many NFTs are more expensive, so how many people are going to buy them?
Yeah, but like we've had the same thing with whales for such a long time too, and like people still get upset about that, even though like only some people will spend $20,000 on an individual game. I don't know.
You know what would be good for NFT games is if they brought back Ape Escape, and you had different apes that you could catch, and they had
the tie-in.
Vaping Ape Escape? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Vaping Ape Escape.
Vape Ape Escape.
Vape Ape Escape.
Monkey balls.
Here's the key difference though between like your usual whales for like games and stuff is that like NFTs are treating it like it's gets to be like this one-off little investments, but the expectation of these things is like it carries on from game to game, right? This whole metaverse nonsense. There's an expectation that they're gonna whatever they introduce now, they're gonna be supporting until the day their withered bones die. Which is why, like, all these game developers, like, sounding off, like, how impractical NFTs are for game design in the first place.
Totally insane.
But at the same time, that is, like, Epic's model, which is, like, to have a permanent universe of items that will, like, and cultural tie-ins that will just go on for as long as they are a company.
Well, Epic is working for Epic outside of NFTs. Because
everybody's looking at Epic with dollar signs.
Fortnite just happens to be like always one of the top 3 most successful games of any given moment. If you're not that game, like, you know, probably the metaverse shtick is not going to work for you. Not to mention that like everyone's got their own little idea of what a metaverse is to begin with. But if your like rudimentary idea of what a metaverse is just like a virtual space where someone's dressed like Deadpool and doing a little dance, then yeah, Fortnite's probably going to reign supreme for a while. As we speak, I have this tweet about how NFTs suck and we should just get back PlayStation 2 memory card 3D icons again. And it's doing some numbers. So this might be like a bit anecdotal, but the horniest artists in the world are clearly not a big fan of NFTs.
But they love memory cards.
They're pro 3D memory card icons and anti NFTs.
Yeah, I'd pay a few Ethereum for NFT of a Metal Gear Solid 2 memory card NFT that I would own, and no one else could enjoy it except for me.
Yeah, you actually put it on a memory card. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, you remember those icons represent the game you have played. It's much more personal. That's your game.
Yeah, and you might have one just like it, but mine's different.
Yeah.
Someone brought up another trend, which is bad behavior game studios. I had written down like
I don't know if that's a new trend.
No, but I think like the way that it's being covered and the way it's kind of entered the zeitgeist and I think has garnered a lot of public attention. It does feel to me like things are happening. There's movement happening on this. Like Activision Blizzard their reputation is kind of in the dumpster right now. Even I've seen like big WoW streamers like Asmongold is like publicly talking about how like ridiculous a lot of these investigations have been as far as like, you know, what has been revealed about what's happening at these companies and stuff like that, which I think is for me something that I haven't really seen a lot of is people looking at this coverage and then like kind of, you know, reflecting it back. I think we saw it a bit with the Riot sexual harassment stuff a few years ago. But it does feel like between this and then unionization and like workers kind of standing up, it does feel like this is something that is garnering more attention than it has in previous years.
The Riot thing go to state court like this is?
No, and I think that might be one. I think that might be one reason why this has gotten a lot more public attention is because like there's an actual investigation done on this stuff that has findings that are like out there.
I mean,
yeah, not another internal investigation that's like
Right.
it's been dealt with.
The riot thing did coincide with Game Workers Union, but that kind of imploded like shortly after. So it's like it's similar in terms of like unionization talk coinciding with like talk of studios being shitty. But also, yeah, it's like it's always just like so the odds are so weighed against it from progressing just because of how hard it is to unionize in America. But
it's also so weird because like it's weird that right now it feels like there's sort of two parallel streams. Like I'm not totally sure that like workplace harassment has the same sort of banner as like unionization inside of a company. Like there's accountability there, but it's weird that like it's like you don't hear the like crunch overwork side right now, but somehow what's happening now is enough of a lightning rod to like push labor movements. So it's like I don't know what the takeaway is there. It's interesting to having watched like, I mean, people like Naughty Dog and Blizzard and like every other giant AAA studio has been like accused, and not even accused, right? Just proven insane crunch culture, and that's never been a lightning rod enough to actually like provoke unionization efforts. But like these harassment claims are somehow actually acting as like the conduit for unionization. So I don't know what like the takeaway is there, or like what that
it's a bit of like a compound thing, right? Because like you have them being taken to court over this, you have the investigations, and then like because they couldn't not embarrass themselves for more than 5 minutes at a time, they then let go of all those QA testers for Warzone, and that launched yet another walkout. Well, while like between crunch culture and certainly not in the toxic environment there, like unions won't necessarily patch all those things up immediately. It's just like this feeling of helplessness when you're dealing with a board of executives who are so overwhelmingly motivating the problems that are so clear to everybody else. Like it's not just that like it's a bad culture at Riot. It's not just that there's crunch. It's that like Bobby Kotick threatened to hire an assassin to kill somebody regarding sexual harassment in the workplace. It's there's no one you can report that guy to other than jail.
Yeah. And the thing that's like kind of heartening about, I don't know, when the Activision Blizzard information started to come out, it kind of like the cynical part of me, being a increasingly old bastard, an old clean bastard, is that like this stuff happens so regularly, and everyone is very incensed for about like a week, maybe two, and then
it's like look at all the fucking hype that like Arcane got right after Riot was like
exactly
somewhat like recently under the gun. All of a sudden you get like Arcane just like doing insane numbers. Everyone loves it and talking about it, and it's
which isn't necessarily. I mean, it's like the bigger issue too is how do you square the excitement that people have over the things made in these environments with also caring. I don't think it's mutually exclusive that people truly give a shit about what's going on with the horrible conditions for people making these kind of things, and then they also get excited, and then I feel like kind of the discourse demands that you have one or the other, like complete blanket condemnation. Or
it's leveraged against it, like the hype, like it forces the enthusiast press, which is most of the games press, to we have to cover this thing because everybody cares about it, and then we're going to like, because we are also workers who are vulnerable, are going to cover the labor problems, but we can only cover it.
Paragraph.
Yeah, we're gonna have a crunch paragraph because that's how it works. That's how the numbers work.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I don't know. I think, and then people kind of have this desire to, it's like, maybe you want to play Assassin's Creed and you want to write a bazillion articles about it for, it's not a great example. you want to, get that traffic on it as a website, or even just as a player who's like, I'm enjoying this or something. And then it's like, well, I don't want to think about everything I learned about Ubisoft 2 months ago. I just don't want to think about that.
The other part of it too that we talked about a bit in the Discord a month or so ago is that like people, this is like, I think generally like structures of accountability in terms of like Twitter stuff and like even just like typical journalism stuff is like really, it's like hard to like deal with that in the scope of a large company. Like Riot is like fucking big. Like that is a huge company, and like it like even if like 1% of people there are like being like aggressively horrible, they will dominate the conversation because it is like that's how like you're talking about like this sort of it takes up a lot of space. So even if 99% of the company is like totally fine, the Arcane team might have the best work conditions in the world. The like people who get like the stuff that comes out takes up a lot of the airspace, and we sort of focus on that. And like I'm to be clear, I'm not saying that I'm not trying to like what's the word? Like minimize any of that stuff, but just that like the scale that these people often operate at makes it really hard for us to actually like, if you are mad, like what does that mean for your relationship to a company like Riot? Because that like, even if it sounds like the whole narrative is that this company is terrible and like companies fucking suck 100%. I run a company. It sucks. It's like, it's totally fine.
Mea culpa.
Like, yeah. Like
Kyle is a union buster.
Yeah. I was sad when I figured I couldn't join the IWW because I'm a boss now.
Oh shit!
Literal boss. But like like reckoning with that sort of dichotomy where both Riot is big. There's a lot of people there. They do make great stuff, and also like Riot is house to a lot of like shitty things. And I think that that sort of dichotomy like belies any sort of like hard and fast rule you can follow. Like you can't just say like, oh, I'm not going to watch Arcane because Riot's bad. It's like, okay, sure, that's fine, but then that is your engagement with Riot. So like, where does that line start and stop? And you do have to sort of define that for yourself. Like if you don't feel comfortable with Riot, then like don't engage with them or not, or like I don't know. It's like it feels like it's like sort of an emergent thing, especially when the past like year or two. I think especially Josh, I was thinking about sort of how you stopped covering Hearthstone after like the Blitzchung thing like went down. It was very easy sort of in that moment to say like, well, I'm just not going to cover Hearthstone or something. And like I think with like the like Riot has like a lot of different games. These are sort of like, it wasn't like the leader of the X team was shitty and the working conditions of episode 2 of Arcane were bad, so like fuck that episode.
Yeah.
It's like Riot's bad, and it's like, okay, well, like what is like the sort of actionable moment for that, for people who want to sort of speak out in support of those people to like forward their cause, while also being like, I don't know what it means. How do you like touch something that's as big as that?
I think it's just an issue that is difficult to kind of reconcile with how discussions are kind of head online now, where it's very much
I think that's what I'm sort of sketching at, is that it's like it's like both not a time for nuance. Like it is amazing and great that these companies are actually being called on their shit after so long, but then also it sort of is a time for nuance, because like, okay, they're getting called on their shit. That's great. Like, what does that mean for everyone else? Because we're also sort of going through it at the same time.
I do think like a big part of it too is the visibility thing, and like, you know, the idea of people believing this stuff and, you know, spreading the word about it, and just how it's kind of accepted among the public. I think it's no coincidence that the fact that this has really picked up steam with the Activision Blizzard stuff is partially because it was like an official government investigation type thing. Whereas a lot of the Riot stuff was handled internally. It was stuff that was like people were tweeting about and stuff. A shit ton of people just didn't believe that was a thing, which is really messed up. But I think it does show the importance of like believing that this stuff does happen. And hopefully this is a lesson that, yeah, this stuff is really happening at these companies, and the extent to which the rot kind of goes is an important facet of it that I think people are hopefully will understand a little bit more now that we have these cases. I mean, it's unfortunate that this is what it takes, but yeah, it is what it is. I think
the most cynical part of me, like when places like Xbox and Sony were like pressuring Activision to do something, or even Kotick themselves to step down, was like, the most cynical part of me just thought like, I wonder if they're just like hoping to avoid a precedent being set in the courts here.
Oh, God.
I mean, you probably wouldn't be too far off base there.
I was also just remembering like Keeley's sort of like weird Game Awards statement.
Man,
He's
that
like,
was...
I'm going to say something and I'm going to say nothing, but I'm going to say it in a way where it sounds like I'm saying something.
We have to come together as gamers.
Exclusive reveal. Like, just...
Harassment
it's so great that
they
immediately followed that up with like a new game from Quantic Dream.
Yeah.
Of all the studios to like 1-2 with is what a beautiful pairing.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like he like he felt the heat, but also it's like you're the problem, bro. Like this is the game industry. Like the AAA game industry is like rotten. Like you can't escape any of these angles. Like they're all like you go from one company to the other, they're all gonna have similar problems. Yeah. Eventually, it's gonna come to light.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the whole when you talk about this as a trend too. I think if anything, like the last 2 years or so have really brought to light. You see a lot of people going, well, fuck Riot, who cares? League of Legends sucks. I like Dota more anyway. Or, fuck
I'm waiting for that Valve piece, man. That black box.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be... Anyway, this is a public forum, so I shouldn't say what horrible things I imagine go on in that skyscraper filled with knives and images of guys with glasses. But, like, I think people want so badly for it to be... it's not the one I like, so it's okay.
Yeah,
and
that's a really good point.
And I think, like, if anything, what we're kind of seeing is it's just this is not confined to one company. It's not even confined to one country. It's like it's a problem that is going on. I mean, I think it extends beyond even the entertainment industry, that this is an issue with these large corporations and how they're run and blah blah blah. But like, I don't know, if I hate the stuff where people are kind of saying, well this company is terrible, boycott them because that'll matter.
So like that woman's experience doesn't matter. It's like
well, yeah, it's just so like they're coming for your faves eventually. Like it's only a matter of time. It's everyone is horrible. Even
I mean, it sort of sounds like table stakes. Like it just seems like a matter of time between, because it's also the other thing too that's like very true with the games industry is that they fucking trade people around, especially in like the C-suite levels. So it's not like who Activision is now reporting on things that happened 10 years ago is like, well, probably a lot of those people have also moved on to other companies and are like doing like pattern behavior. Like it's not just like so confined where it's easy to be like, well, we can say no to that company. And you have to start looking at sort of the model and say,
people are failing up,
maybe
baby.
This is bad.
Okay. Let's move on. I think we're good for trends. I'm sure more will come up as we talk about some of these other things. Now we're going to jump into our categories.
Celebration of games.
A celebration of video games.
Now for a new game by
Quantic Dream.
We're coming together as gamers.
So
that game did look sick, though. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I was really bummed when it dropped that was the Quantic Dream game because like.
But it's just like a cinematic.
I know, it's just a cinematic, but it's a cinematic full of cool shit.
No, but that's all their games are. It's a cinematic, and you press
but
X
it makes
to like.
Every one of these reveal trailers is a cinematic, even if there's like gameplay involved. It's still just like a mock-up of things. Show me the fun cartoon that lies. I don't care. I'm willing to say that looks cool.
But then you get the Spider-Man puddle discourse.
What?
Oh,
the Spider-Man game with the puddle that didn't look as good as it looked in the final game. It looked better than the final game. Yeah. Anyway.
Jesus Christ. Oh, that's like a fruit. That's a great trend.
It's because they replaced it with piss in game. That's
the diamond fruit discourse, like the crystalline fruit from Final Fantasy. Like everybody talking about the low res, low poly fruit in games.
The grapes. Yeah.
But like every few months, somebody like tweets something that's like, "Why does fruit look ugly? And when I shoot it, it doesn't explode."
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I eat it.
why are you looking at the fruit?
If I see fruit in the video game, my first question is, why can't I take a big munch out of it and hear a loud crunch noise?
Yeah, my character is hungry. My character's hungry and there's nothing to eat.
And then I hold the apple in front of my face, so you see the big bite mark, and then a little worm with a smiley face pops out, and it waves and says hello, and then it goes back in.
The only one of those I'll accept is...
Why can't I see that in the game? When are we gonna have the true next gen experience?
Can you pet the dog, and does the toilet flush? That's all I care about.
And does it break the Geneva Convention?
Well, Battlefield 2042 both breaks the Geneva Convention, and you can pet the dog because it's like a robot dog.
Perfect game.
Yeah.
Perfect game.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start out with a tried and true category, but one which I have since amended. Okay, we usually go over the oh yeah, that came out category. I've decided this year we should split this into two. First of which is, wait, that was this year? And then, what the fuck, that's out? Those are the two different categories. So, that was this year?
For both of those.
For me, Valheim.
Oh.
Valheim was 2021, folks. It feels like it was an eternity ago, but that was this year.
Yeah, that was
you got into that game, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I played
sure
a lot of
that. I'm fully on with the split of the category, but I will submit my answer for the first category of that was this year, which is Outriders. Because
what are you talking about? Bullet points did a whole month on it. It was a critical. We had a critical deep dive.
Maybe Bullet Points doing a thing is like a death's touch. Like it just will fade into obscurity.
What are you talking
about? We did Biomutant as well. Okay, so
Biomutant, that also counts.
Was that this year?
That also counts.
Of course, it was this
year. That was this
year. Oh my god! Holy shit!
Feels like a year
I thought
ago.
you printed them all out and put them on your wall.
I got a Wikipedia up over here.
I think we're onto something for measuring this category. It's bullet points months.
What did bullet
points You covered that this year? That's my version of that. Just the non-bullet points offensive.
You had to think about that for 4 weeks.
You had to think. Outriders is fun. Outriders is a good game.
Outriders is fine.
Pokemon Unite.
Too much hate.
Pokemon Unite was this year. I mean, I was reminded of this because it showed up in a lot of people's like Switch Wrapped thing. But as of this morning, I had totally forgotten that Pokemon Unite was this year. Anybody else have any entries?
Yeah, here's a game I believe we actually spoke about the last time I was on the show, and that is a Balan Wonderworld. Was this year?
That was this year, wasn't
it? Don't let that game be forgotten.
That's on the border of that and WTF. That's out.
I think the game I had in mind for that's out was Fantasian on Apple Arcade. The Final Fantasy guys, like stop motion background. JRPG.
Yeah, that is out, isn't it?
Yeah.
That thing was cool.
That had like a cool viral like Twitter thread, and then like I was like, "That's out."
I'd much rather play it on the Nintendo Switch than my phone, where I do other things and play a in-depth JRPG.
Do you think? I kind of think that Ratchet and Clank clanks on in this category.
I feel like every PS5 game is basically that's out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to be fair, Ratchet and Clank was kind of like engineered in a lab to not be remembered 48 hours after you finish it.
That just happens.
That's why I want to play it, though. I need a game like that.
It's fine. It's like stuff flies all over the place, and your controller, it makes little rumbles.
I'm sure.
Even when they came out, the Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper games, like they're bad at like sticking in your brain for any particular reason, but they're sure. Wing ding, good time.
Yeah,
for babies.
Fun. Yeah.
The new WarioWare game came out.
Oh yeah.
It's okay. It's
Really? I want to play it. I still want to play that. Another one that came out, Hextech Mayhem, the Riot Forge Ziggs game, the League of Legends one. It's like a rhythm platformer.
What?
It's from Riot Forge. Remember their studio?
Yeah.
They came out with Hextech Mayhem, which is a game where you play as Ziggs, a character from League of Legends. And I actually played this game. It's actually pretty interesting. Like, it's a rhythm platformer where all the inputs are like done to the rhythm. Worth checking out. Came out.
I'm trying to get off Ziggs and onto
Subnautica
Zig.
Below Zero came out. The Subnautica sequel. I know like nobody playing that, which is surprising because
didn't
the
really
first
The
one.
first one a lot.
Yeah, the first
I
one's
know,
great.
so it's sort of weird. It just sort of was like, well. Also, honestly, Resident Evil Village was this year. I know it's probably some of your all's topses, but
I did like forget that was this year. Yeah. Because it feels like a holiday game to me for some reason, and like something that would have come out in like an October, which makes me think it would have come out in October of last year. I think this is like the internal logic I have for the Resident Evil thing, but I did love that game, and I will definitely be talking about it.
I mean, it's good because it's like brief, right? Like if it kept going, or if it tried like hang around beyond its expiry date, it wouldn't have been as nice and sort of breezy as it was.
It doesn't overstay its welcome.
Did Bullet Points cover Necromunda Hired Gun? Because that also came out this year.
No, but if you want a little, Yusuf, if you want me to blow up your spot a little bit, remember you did. You were like, we should maybe cover this. Is Yusuf still there?
I think his mic is weird for a second, and the perfect moment for his mic to go.
To defend your.
Spot.
Anyway,
Hired Gun, for people who don't know, was the like Warhammer 40K sort of like Doom Eternal, new Doom game where you like held a fucking heart in your hand and like squeezed it. It looked like pretty gnarly and like pretty cool.
I want to play that just for. I don't care about Warhammer, but I do like how like sort of gross that thing looks.
Yeah.
Similar to HeroClix, I like the idea of Warhammer than the thought of actually participating in it.
Yeah.
Best.
Maybe why games like that and like Vermintide are more appealing to me than ever stepping into
This came out. You ready for this one?
Okay.
Axiom Verge 2.
Oh yeah,
That's out.
Oh yeah, that came out. Oh, we got the
Axiom
split
Verge
Zach
2
again.
Oh yeah, because I'm trying to.
Shit.
Teardown.
Boyfriend Dungeon.
Wasn't Teardown a 2020 game?
I think Teardown was 2020. Maybe on consoles. In 2020.
You know what came out?
Okay.
Manifold
I'm
Garden.
back.
No,
Sorry.
that was a few years ago.
I was having some technical difficulties.
Manifold Garden isn't every year. Oh yeah, that came out.
Ginny LeClue. It's out.
It's out.
That came out last year?
Next category.
All right, next category.
They're all in Game Pass.
Who wins that category? Humankind wins that category.
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
The civilization killer.
There are no winners, only losers.
There's merely candidates in the running.
Yeah. Best game to show your family during the holidays. Chicory.
It Takes Two.
Chicory to me is the one. It Takes Two is like I was getting so annoyed playing that game because it has like 5-minute cutscenes. Like you're sitting there with someone who's never played games before, or like very rarely, and they make you sit through a 5-minute cutscene where it's like a mom and dad arguing about like, you know, their kids, like how they're raising their kid
with really weird accents.
With a weird.
I think the real answer is I don't know how to say this. Kina.
Bridge of Spirits. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's like very like parent core. You're like, look at this game. It's so pretty.
When I first heard it was coming out, I was excited to play Mario Golf with various uncles, but it turned out that Mario Golf wasn't especially good. So I think my nomination for this category is a Sable.
Yeah.
Sable is a good.
If you have if you have cool family, probably Sable. Yeah. I mean, I feel like Kina feels like no,
Kina.
yeah. This is like what I would call a respectability game, you know?
Well, it was like made to look like a Pixar movie, and I don't know what the appeal is too much beyond that, you know?
Yeah, where it's like games can be art too, dude. Here's Kina.
That's exactly the.
Check it out.
I didn't know it was made. I didn't know Kina was made by those people who made that really sick Majora's Mask fan film. It turned like
Yeah,
I only noticed that.
Fact about it.
I only noticed that when I noticed it was the same YouTube account that was like posting the trailers for this game,
But they
and
posted to the same account as the Majora's
it's the same
Mask.
account. You just got to
That's
keep
incredible.
scrolling back at their videos, and you get that super sick Majora's Mask film.
Oh my god.
Anybody play Kina?
No.
It's another PS5 one.
Oh,
That was
I
was
guess it
one
was
of
on 4
those.
and Windows.
There's a category here in my mind, and I think Yusuf, I think you and I have talked about this as well, which is the category of game of I am not playing that unless I'm being paid to play that, which is and I think Kina kind of is like, yeah,
that is absolutely counts.
I may enjoy that game if I know that there is an invoice I can send once I'm done doing stuff with it.
Far Cry
My-
6 is one of those for me.
Ooh,
Oh,
Was not
That's
worth
an
it.
oh yeah, that came out.
the
oh,
$0 I pay myself from bullet points was not worth it.
yeah. Yeah, the time I subtracted from my life to play Far Cry 6.
God,
Yeah, that was a choice too. Oh, whatever.
That came out.
That came out like last month too. Like, what the
You know, actually, my answer for to show your family, and maybe it's a bit of a cheat, but I'd show someone that Kid A. Amnesia.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
came out. I
'Cause that's
need
a
to play
very
that.
Cool. It's just like it
No.
is exactly what you think it is. It's a digital exhibition with.
Reed, is
you
it
know,
the Kid A of video games?
It, it's the Kid A and the Amnesiac of video games. It's a double.
the Citizen Kid A. Yeah, that and the Matrix demo too, right? That was like kind of
It just came out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it counts. 2021.
It does count.
that Radiohead exhibition thing though was like that was a beautiful thing. I think that's like a really really cool thing. The
That
Matrix
was
one
One of
I
Simon
showed
Parkin's top games of the year at thenewyorker.com.
with the Kid A Amnesiac thing.
Yeah, made the list.
I showed my partner the Matrix thing when I was like, look at this, as I was starting it, and she went, they don't look right. So that's I think the normie takeaway. If you want that.
Worst game to be walked in on playing.
Ooh,
All of them.
every video game.
Near Replicant.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to beat 12 minutes for this category.
Yeah.
Oh my
Especially if they
God.
watch for like more than a few seconds, you know? If it's a
I
few
was, like,
seconds,
playing with,
near.
my
If it's
wife,
longer
and
than
I
that,
felt bad playing it with her. I was like, I'm sorry. This is like, I was like, it's gonna be so fun. Like, it's interactive. We can like sit on the couch and like play it together. It'll be cool. And then we were playing it. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. This is not.
You know what game made me feel like a massive pervert this year?
Go on.
More than usual was if you play that Mario one where they turn into giant like cat kaiju.
Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, and then Mario
Oh,
goes
yeah.
like meow like all the time. He just keeps doing it, and it's there's something that's very like inviting about
So I
it.
read which part was that? What does he say? I missed the.
I'm not doing it again.
Do it.
No, because
Are we-
actually, I'm not doing it justice because it actually is like that Charles Martinet like it's a meow like that kind of thing, and he's like meow.
One more time. I think you
cut out.
You cut
You're
out
breaking
out
your-
for a second, yeah.
Sorry.
Try being a little louder with it.
Someone's gonna
Yeah.
throw a brick through the window.
The
There was no
live,
audio the last 5 minutes.
someone mentioned the live action sequences of Inscription.
Oh yeah,
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah, kind of spoilers, I guess.
Well, my roommate was
We've all had our
actually
time.
like, my roommate actually like watches those videos. Is the thing. So I was like trying to time it for when they were walking by, so that I could be like, I'm watching these dorky Magic the Gathering videos, just like you, just like the ones I hear coming from your room all the time.
I just want to say, first of all, sorry about that spoiler. Second of all, these videos are fucking bad. Like every time, this is like Hall of Fame community theater level acting, bad FMV shit. So just FYI, that's happening.
I think that most struck out to me like in the finale when they do something that feels like
get there.
Something that feels like very like something you do in a high school movie you filmed over the weekend or something with your friends.
Yeah. There's
as conclusion wise,
like the costumes are like not costumes, just like people dressed in normal clothes that they just always wear, and they're like supposed to be playing a character, and you're like, you're wearing like a Midwest girl typical outfit.
With aviators.
Well, I have one more. I think it's like, it's not necessarily a game, but like anytime someone like, there's a pandemic, by the way, for listening to this in the future. Anytime like Rebecca like walks in on me watching Twitch, like it doesn't matter what it is, but I always feel the need to be like, oh, he's playing Magic, and he's it's fine. He's like, it's like some fucking fat nerd who's just like, and I'm like, I promise I'm not weird. I'm just watching this person talk about dead.
Kyle, this is part of society
you're not weird.
Now. This is part of society.
I know, but I still feel.
When I was stuck in bed
watching people play video games, and you have to be like, you have to sort of explain.
When it's a normal person, I will say that like it is. We live in this world where like.
Yeah, do you have any idea what normal people watch on YouTube? It's way more twisted than like whatever you think you're subjecting yourself
true.
to.
Yeah, people watch like pimple popping videos and stuff. Like
there is something though. It's like I feel like if I'm watching Twitch or whatever, my partner will be like, who do you know that person? Is like, no, I don't.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
They're your friend.
She's like, why wouldn't you just play that? And you're like, well,
because
yeah. Do you know that person?
That's every time.
That's a good.
Ever share something
question.
From Twitter? They're like, look at this cool Twitter joke. Is that your friend? No, not.
Who is that? Who is that? Is the question. It's like I've never met this person. I don't know. Where am I supposed to?
Check out this funny tweet. Yeah.
It's Win. It's Drill.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you know him?
Best 2021 game I will play another year.
Oh man.
I got some. Okay, first
I got like
every PS5 game, like Returnal, the Ratchet and Clank game. I got Kid A thing, Cruelty Squad. I tried that, didn't. I'm gonna need to be in a mood for that one, and I feel like one day it'll just be like, you know what, let's today's the day we play Cruelty Squad, but that day did not come this year. Shin Megami Tensei 5, the Life is Strange thing. That's it. That's all I got.
Like the arty stuff. Like I never got to Genesis Noir or Mundun.
I didn't get to Artful Escape.
Psychonauts 2 is
you could skip Artful Escape.
Okay.
Yeah. Truthfully, yeah.
I really want to play Psychonauts 2, but I've not got to.
Don't skip Psychonauts 2. That's.
I don't want to skip it. I'm just like that's like those.
You would skip Psychonauts 2?
Kyle,
everyone's saying it's the best game since sliced bread.
I know. I'm just also like Double Fine Stick is sort of like Josh getting into Cruelty Squad, where like I've just got to be in a mood to down that stuff, and like I've never really resonated with a lot of their stuff for that reason. And it's like not bad. It's just like
there's like a definite style of humor and like kind of like a bounciness to the writing and everything. And I know what you mean. Sometimes it does not. It's just not the right time for it.
I'm just like I don't want this right now.
They're sad. They're Muppets who get sad sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say though, for Psychonauts, that game's art is really the big draw, and like just the amazing. World is nuts, and the writing is like, to me, and Double Fine was the kind of, I used to go to their games for the writing and the quippy like fun stuff because it was kind of ahead of the curve in terms of that in comparison to other games. But with Psychonauts 2, it's just the just like the places it takes you is bonkers. So that's why I would recommend that one.
First stage is like one of the grossest things you ever do in a video game, and everything that like follows them is like still like so well manifested from their imagination.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. Every goofy and dumbass little idea they go all in, and whether it's like that fungus bowling stage, or the cooking show, or just like you get really excited to see like what's just around the corner, and thankfully it's like there's a pretty decent amount of material in there to like walk around, explore. The levels are so conducive to just like wanting to like bounce around and see what you can like uncover and find, whether it's like a collectible or just like a funny little detail they snuck in to be found.
If I'm being honest, it's going to be like none of those. I'm not going to play any games from this year. Like in the future, it's never going to happen. I'm going to say I'm going to do it, and then it's just like
It's
5 years later.
My nomination for the category is a Famicom Detective Club, because
Oh yeah,
exactly.
I like the idea of playing them. It seems cool to like have like the first official English translation of this like Nintendo game that never came out here. But it's also $80 for 2 lengthy 80s Japanese mystery games that haven't had any quality of life updates at all, just like a visual overhaul.
I mean, do you want to be popular on Twitter or not? That's just the question that you're asking yourself right now.
Buddy, I'm never going to be popular on Twitter. Outside of saying NFTs or poo-poo, I don't know.
It's a crowd pleaser.
Poo-poo, doo-doo, farts.
Okay, on
I gotta stick.
the opposite side of this, best.
Josh,
yeah.
I just gotta say, there's this game. I think people are sleeping on it. I can't vouch for it 100%. Nyx Umbra. Have you seen this thing?
No, maybe it sounds familiar.
It has this. It's kind of like, it's of a piece with bullet points, image aesthetic, high contrast, like two-tone.
Wait, how do you spell it?
Nixumbra. But it's 2 words.
It sort of looks like bullet point screenshots, right?
Yeah, and then this thing is whose review of this did I read? I think it might have been.
Did that come out this year?
It just came out like a few weeks ago, I think, and it's like the one that I am sad that I didn't get a chance to check out before.
This review is like my shit. Take Devil Daggers, slow it down to the speed of a Sun-O album. You got one hell of a bleak survival horror experience. Understated gameplay nuances keep things fresh, leading to revelatory moments on every new run. Very cool.
You said we were going to be world premiere trailers.
World premiere, Nyx Umbra.
World premiere, yeah.
You saw it here first.
Fucking sick.
I actually have another thing like that we'll get, another category that we'll get to after best non-2021 game revisited. Promessa was that one for me. Retroactively declared it my game of 2020. And then Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age immediately became
mainlined that.
Immediately became like one of my favorite JRPGs ever. Convinced me to play Final Fantasy XIV, which we'll talk about more.
That old dog.
Me and Reed played Final Fantasy 12.
No,
First
we
one.
played 13.
Oh, never mind. I don't even know.
God, I was gonna say.
I was I think Yusuf, to against your point, I did pick up Final Fantasy VII Reborn this year, and I've been enjoying that when I play it.
Wait, what's Reborn?
Whatever it's called.
Remake.
Remake.
Centigrade.
And I also
It's good.
I think it was 2021 when I started playing Bloodborne for the first time, and it ripped.
Very much so.
I'm at the final boss, and I just saw that like if you basically can't start the final boss because it cuts off the open world. So I'm just finishing the DLC stuff, and I'm gonna go and beat it.
Excited for Kyle to get to Sekiro.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Should I do Sekiro or Dark Souls 3 next.
Sekiro.
For sure.
Dark Souls 3 is like for people who are like, I really love Dark Souls 1, but I wish I had like next gen graphics. That's the entire game.
Oh, that's not
that
nice.
sounds like me.
That game is fine. It's come on. What does Dark Souls 3 provide that's actually new?
Oh, it's the one. It's like you get to pull this trick once and feel intelligent about it, but like if you have a series like Dark Souls, you can do the third entry that is kind of remember the first one. We're commenting on your nostalgia for this thing with the game itself, and I think you can get away with that once. It's like a game about Dark Souls 1.
I'll probably finish Bloodborne like this week, and then Elden Ring is in February, so I don't really see myself.
You don't have time for Sekiro, but we got a triage here.
Or 3, yeah.
Sekiro.
Or I just like fucking mainline Sekiro over the holiday.
Kyle, play Paradise Killer.
Play Paradise Killer. I was actually thinking that. I was like, John's gonna fucking hang me because I haven't.
I'm trying to get Kyle to play that game because I feel like he would like it.
I did mention before the cast I started playing finally Disco Elysium, which is pretty criminal because of Superculture Association not even having played that game. But it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Darn tootin'.
Keep it.
Darn good. I'm only a few hours in, but
that's all you need.
I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I really, really, really like what I'm seeing.
Good.
And I'll report back in 2022. Best of games of the year.
Best game of
2022. Yeah.
I got a special question aimed just at me. Game you would most want to see its story / aesthetic, either or both, worked into a K-pop concept. I would say mine is Sable.
I think it's supposed to be concert.
Oh, okay. Concert, concept, same thing. I would say Sable, funnily enough. Because, like, they do a lot of sci-fi stuff in K-pop, but not this, like, Sable, like, minimalistic Dune-y type thing. And I would like to see some of that. A lot of the costume design and stuff in Sable is really dope.
What about Dark Souls?
What about Balan Wonderworld?
Dark Souls. I think a lot of older K-pop stuff is kind of Balan Wonderworld-esque. Just look at HOT. Check some of their stuff out. Some of the first K-pop groups, really interesting, weird stuff. Let's see. I came up with a couple questions that I would like to discuss, or a couple prompts. Game that renewed your spirit. That one's not mine, but I came up with gives you hope for the future of games, and I feel like those are kind of in the same thing.
I can't remember if we had started recording yet, but you were talking about like how this year didn't have like your like what felt like games of the year, like
yeah.
There was no like knockout punches like you usually get, and maybe that's because of COVID or shortages of certain things and the sluggish console rollout and all that. But I did feel like there were a lot of games that like reminded me of what I like about games, even if they weren't like breaking through the ceiling sort of experiences. Like certainly with Psychonauts 2, certainly with Inscription, and most certainly with No More Heroes 3. It kind of felt like these like that was this year. They all felt like these like sort of enriching creative experiences that are so not off kilter, but certainly not the kind of games that end up on like that top shelf of things. They felt like back when we actually had like mid-budget games coming out of
which games
studios.
Did you mention for that?
No More Heroes 3, Psychonauts 2, and Inscription. And they all just sort of, again, they feel like creatively enriched. They take me places I don't anticipate going when I first load the games, which sounds so like hackneyed to say, but it's true. And especially with like No More Heroes 3, it sticks to its creative guns so rigidly that like people are still complaining about the same issues with this one as they have since the beginning of the series, that like the overworld's pretty dry, but I find that Suda here is like sort of saving all that money for the game on like more surprising things, on like just weird bonkers things happening. Like it certainly doesn't quite synchronize with your K-pop show desires, but No More Heroes 3 you do kill Iggy Azalea. So on a stage as like
real Iggy Azalea?
It's a pretty convincing stand-in for Iggy Azalea as like giant teddy bears shoot lasers around the stage, and every key moment in that game, you're truly just saying like, I have no idea what the fuck's about to happen next. Maybe we'll play musical chairs. Maybe one time you just get it turns into a horror survival game all of a sudden for one sequence, and I think I tweeted about it, but it's just like video games, like they're a magician's hat, and some games are like, I'm going to spend so much money and resources pulling realistic looking lampposts out of this magician's hat, and No More Heroes 3 is like, I don't know, I think I've got better uses of my time and of this magician's hat. I'm going to pull more interesting things out of this. So you know what? Yeah, it's not the most interesting overworld to like zoom around from fight to fight, but you're constantly caught off guard. The combat is genuinely very good. They've really nailed the combat this time, where even when you have to like recharge your beam sword, it fits nicely into the flow of all these different moves and resources you're juggling at any given moment.
What console is this out on?
Just Switch only right now.
Okay, I gotta play that then. Shit, okay.
It's not on the PS5. You don't have an excuse.
That's actually the other one I forgot about as, potential 2022 favorite game of 2021. That thing looks, and talking to you about it, Zach, man, that thing looks so good.
Anybody else got ones that give them hope for the future?
I was really surprised how hooked I got on Valheim for like 2 weeks out of like fucking nowhere. And that one, like, I don't know, I think we talked about it a lot when it came out, and obviously it was like wildly successful sort of after that. But there's like something about that to like show that there's still meaningful new fun to be had in like a sort of open world, like a multiplayer open world game, like and also that it's like not so different. Like I think the things that they did that were like different was that they had like sort of shared persistent physics, and like the houses you built had structural concerns, and it forced you to like explore to find better stuff to build bigger houses or whatever. And even with just like such a small sort of tweak to the formula, that there was like, hundreds of hours of fun to be had, or at least like 100 hours of fun to be had, in a way that like I did not think could still happen in that space specifically. So I think there's like hope in that. I think that there's like, not to say that like Valheim 2 is like the hope, but that there can still be like meaningful new multiplayer experiences that like feel different enough to be sort of compelling.
Did you get it on like the Minecraft ground floor, Kyle? Like when it first came out? That was awesome. That time.
I was like, back at like, just like, cause it felt like you're like, what is, like, just playing with like people and like other servers and stuff. It felt like, I don't know, it sort of felt like people like turned the lights on in a way, because at the time, right, when Minecraft was like sort of first hitting, we were living in like peak AAA. And so the idea that like a game like that could actually be multiplayer and not be like Counter-Strike or Gmod or something was still pretty new and fresh. And to have like that, and then also have a world that was like so sort of like fundamentally creative, even before they had survival mode, right? When it was like just creative mode.
And like the scale of it, just like it was so simple. Like it showed that you could like have something that was like so simple and didn't have to be aesthetically like polished, but then was so impressive because of the scale it could reach. I just really like Valheim like was like kind of it felt like it was doing something similar, but then I also like felt like already burnt out from Minecraft, like or that like
definitely like sort of reach a point where you sort of stare into the abyss and you're like,
Valheim did have a little bit more of like a role playing with friends style appeal to me, where it felt like you were in this Viking ancient world type thing. For me, I have Before Your Eyes was one of those. Again, not a game I would say is like one of my games of the year, but it was like just the fact that everything in that game hinged on just like the act of opening and closing your eyes was really neat. I liked that they were trying new things. And just the fact that it was like a sensation focused game, like just there was so much more reliance on your hearing, which was kind of like an unexpected consequence of the fact that you're kind of opening and closing your eyes so much in this game, and you leave your eyes closed for a while, you leave them open for a while. And because of that, you're listening to sound cues, you're like really looking at what's around you, really trying to absorb all the information on screen, and it just has that much more value. And I thought that was like a really neat experiment that they were doing, and something that gave me hope for just the idea that games can go in a different direction. And then I also have it's not a game, but Arcane was kind of Riot. I say this.
Stop the paragraph.
Let me rewind about half an hour for other thoughts on Riot. But no, I just thought that the whole execution of the internal universe type stuff was really well done, and it was just neat to see it executed that way. I'm not like the hugest Arcane stan or anything like that, but I just thought it was neat to see it folding into this like multimedia universe type thing, and that it was executed really well.
I think also something that's like less like sexy in terms of being a new game was like actually seeing Forza 5's accessibility stuff, which is like pretty staggering in terms of like just I think it's easy to see AAA, and we like shit on them a lot, and like video game companies in general of like being really unwilling to adopt new stuff, and like to see something like Forza really sort of go the distance for like accessibility in games. Like I'm not someone who like has any sort of issues with like playing games. I'm like able-bodied. I have all my limbs and eyes and ears and stuff. But to like see someone like that, like at such a high profile level, like go so far to do all these things was like something about seeing that was like, oh shit, like games can change. They can like step outside of their comfort zone and sort of do extra work to like support and like be there for people in a way that is like not going to be commiserate with like sales. Like maybe you get some marketing beats, maybe the like point whatever % of people who are affected by some issue that you're solving is like, I'll be really grateful, but like to do that without sort of any sort of specific like profit motive, I guess, is like, that was really cool to like see that and be like, oh shit, like that's awesome that they did that.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I definitely noticed like a lot of AAA games starting on the accessibility screen this year, which I think it's just awesome. It's like there's no skin off anybody else's back, and it like actually is pretty like effective for opening those games up to other players.
Yeah.
I guess mine for this would be, I don't know, Mundown. I think is like, I feel like it's usually since I've been writing about games, and which I think has a way after the first like year or two of doing it of making you question if you want to ever look at a video game again, and like, what the fuck you're doing with your time. And certainly like bullet points raises that question pretty often, like a lot of the stuff we look at and write about and think about and blah blah blah. And then like once in a while, it's, if you're lucky, it usually feels to me like over the last however long, it's like you get one, maybe two games a year that are kind of like, oh yeah, no, this is a space actually worth paying attention to, which also kind of makes you think it would be better to just like have a friend whose recommendations you really trusted, who could just be like, play these two games and then don't waste the rest of your time. But Mundown for me this year, and it's usually something that is either not on the radar or is like, oh yeah, maybe that'll be neat if it comes out, kind of thing. Like Disco Elysium was like a game like that for me.
Yeah.
I mean, on the other hand, I thought like Death Stranding was actually like extremely interesting and made me like care about games like around that same time too. But
you
Mundown,
really like walking around the mountains, don't you?
I yearn to walk to the mountains and listen to my what is it, low roar. I want to listen to low roar and carry a baby around.
Yeah. Or a goat head, baby goat head.
Well, yeah. Yeah, Mundown is just like one of those games where it's I'll end up talking about this more when we do like the Bullet Points podcast as well. Spoiler, but it's just one of those games that is so it's just complete. Like it knows what it's saying. It's also very entertaining while kind of like provoking a lot of emotion and thought, and it's striking and it's like enjoyable. And it's just one of those things where you're like, wow, there are some people working in this space who are like very good artists, you know, that are worth paying attention to. Just like I would say like Disco Elysium is something that's worth, it's not just a good video game, it's a good piece of art from the time we're alive. Like something like Mundown is like that too. So that was definitely one that was like, oh, okay, this puts a little gas back in the tank for however much longer.
Did you play Promessa, Reed?
Yeah, that game was very cool. It didn't. That one, I feel, it didn't like. I don't know. I had kind of had a hard time with that one in a sense, as it was maybe like kind of too raw for kind of some stuff that's that it relates to. But it was. Yeah, that's definitely something as well that's just like kind of, no, that's not a good video game, you know, just a good video game. It's like a pretty exceptional piece of art. Like I thought Promessa was like really moving.
Same. Let's go to the next category. Makes you
Now
pessimistic for the future of games. 12 minutes I'll just say first.
God, yeah, just the love.
It's like it could have been like worthwhile. It could have been, it's like the Fight Club guy's game, you know, like the guy who's really into fucking Fight Club, or and just the fact that like Annapurna's behind it, and it's like it's this big deal, and the way they presented it, it's like this is gonna be like the edgy, cool film, like unflinching look at our world through the gritty lens with which we should be looking at things, and it was just not good in my
opinion. It reminds me of like
also like not even on this, just like the story level, right? Like there's just like gamer shit about that's just bad. Like there's just like from an interaction design standpoint, the game is like not good. It's not like, oh, they really nailed the like time loop interactive story thing.
Yeah,
and like, but the story is bad. It's like that game is just bad from like top to bottom.
Yeah, it reminds me of like when we were all kids, we like read Spawn comics, constantly like mistaking gruesomeness and violence for like some sort of maturity.
Profoundness.
Like, yeah, it's dark, therefore it's deep.
Yeah.
The John Leguizamo clown of video games.
Yeah,
I think
the fact that they had those like Hollywood superstars doing voice roles, but like doing American accents, and you can't even recognize them. Like they just like bring like, of course Willem Dafoe is Willem Dafoe because you can't.
Yeah,
I want to see like James McAvoy's face to sort of like appear like his headshot at the bottom with a little audio bar when he
it's really him. It's really him, guys.
Yeah, just so I know.
I swear to God. Yeah, I still don't believe that was him. It was Guillermo
Daisy
del Toro.
Ridley. You're like, that's not fucking Daisy Ridley.
Like the Metroid thing where the reflection of his face shows up in the screen. Like when there's like a light flash, it's like William Dafoe's face.
Oh man, this is a great time to bring up my favorite take on Bad End, which is that culture is dead. Because like thinking about seeing Age of Empires 4 and Halo Infinite come out this year,
yes,
I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like,
yes,
Age of Empires 4 is just Age of Empires 2, like with very, very little changed, and people are like eating that shit up. And like Halo Infinite is just like Halo 3, and people are just like eating that shit up. And
Halo
like
Infinite
is like fucking Battlefield 3, and people are just eating that shit up.
No, but nobody likes this Battlefield because at least it's like broken.
And one of the biggest games of this year was fucking Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which is a basically remake / expansion of a Wii U game that came out like 8 years ago.
Yeah, but it's got pervert Cat Mario.
It's got Bowser's Fury, and no one played Wii U games. They have to re-release them. I mean, like, for most people, it's the first time they're playing it.
But just like seeing that stuff is like, what are we fucking doing, man? Like, what is? That's the shit that makes me lose games, is just seeing like these high budget productions of just the same shit.
Halo Infinite gives me the stay tuned to bullet points. I finished that game yesterday and wrote about it for our next issue. That seeing that game and sort of seeing the praise of it is like, it's one of those things where I remember there were all these great reviews for like the first Avengers movie, like the Joss Whedon.
Oh yeah.
It was like here we go, and I went to the theater to see it based on everyone being like, this is good, and it was like painful. Like first 20 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, okay, and then it just keeps going, and then I kind of feel like running around saying the sky's falling or something, like I've just lost it completely because everyone's like, no, and then like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 by James Gunn is excellent, and so is this, and then I like watch them and I'm just like, this fucking suck, and it's the same thing over and over. And then like Halo Infinite is one of those things in games where like in theory I have a bit more skin in the game of like having opinions, and Halo Infinite is just like, man, it's it is the death of culture. That's the best way to put it. It is a fucking vacuum sucking in just anything worthwhile. It is, hey, do you remember Halo? Like, here's another Halo.
Yeah, here's Halo.
You could play the Halos originally, and then we remastered them for you as well. But what about this one? And technically it's a new story, but don't worry, it's not actually like new. Like everything's the same as you liked it before. That stuff is just, man.
Something like New World 2 is like kind of adjacent to this, where like you give one of the most like rich companies in the world the ability to make a video game, and they pop out like a fucking MMO like it's 2006. And you're like, this was your multi-billion-dollar idea, was to produce like a game that already feels dated. Like what? Like it's like the people in charge were like, well, we know, like we played WoW when we were teens.
What were the ideas they rejected at Amazon Game Studio? That was gonna be like their flagship.
I don't know. Right? Like I think it's just like, yeah, it's just something about this like sort of remake culture that's sort of starting to set in is not necessarily feeling like this beautiful re-articulation of like games history, and it's starting to feel more like, well, what if we just make the same things that people liked before?
It's almost like the thing too with like the PS5, where I mean, I do own one, so I will account to that. But
the launch title was fucking.
It is so funny that like everyone who has it is like, check out my games. They're just PS4 games that load faster.
Yeah.
And that is like what everybody's been talking about this year.
Did you hear they just released that PS4 game on the PS5 now? That's a new release.
Pretty much.
And now, like, especially with Sony, like, shutting down their Japan studios and making it heinously clear that the only games they're gonna like invest in at all are gonna be like $200 million sequels to the same 4 franchises that they've decided are like their safe bets now. So like Horizons and The Last of Us's and Spider folks.
I want to say this is to kind of go back to this the trends discussions that we've been having, but to me this all feels like the byproduct of these trends that have been in motion for years, which is we have these genres that are really coming to the forefront of games roguelike, for instance. I love roguelikes. I love playing them. I think they're a lot of fun. If we look at like crafting games, there's some fun stuff that's come out of that. Like Breath of the Wild, like shows an example of where that can go. Even Minecraft is a good game. We talked about Valheim earlier. Multiplayer shooters. There's, stuff like Valorant and stuff. A lot of this stuff is focused on emergent gameplay where the fun comes from like playing the game socially or experiencing something different because you're playing with like real life human beings, or discovering new combinations of things that you didn't know were possible before, stuff like that. But at the same time, like the sense of authorial control, the sense of like there being some artistic message or statement behind these types of games, that grip is becoming a lot more loose in video games, to the point where everything is starting to be influenced by this, and that message is starting to kind of disintegrate. I mean, I think that one kind of perfect example of this that didn't really make this off the top of my head, this makes you pessimistic for the future of games, but now I'm starting to think of it like maybe it might be a good fit for this, is Metroid Dread, which when we look at the single player installments of Metroid and, a lot of what Metroid has done in the past, there's this focus on atmosphere. There's this focus on like art direction and the way that these worlds are designed and the world building of these games. But that was something that seemed largely missing from this game to me. And even though the action, I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed my time playing that game. It felt like it had been really influenced by this hunger for emergent gameplay that is all the rage right now, that a lot of roguelikes are bringing along with them. And it's kind of a worse game for it. If they had done the atmospherics is something that like a lot of games just really don't have right now. And that's something that it felt like Metroid Dread really kind of lost the thread on. And to me is almost kind of disappointing. And it feels like something that we've seen from a lot of single player games that are trying to take more influence from these other, even Halo, for instance. Like if you look at Halo Infinite and like just the way that the sound design works and what used to be good about Halo, now that it's been influenced by like loot boxes and like all these things that are all the rage that are not necessarily bad in and of themselves, it takes away from like what made these things good in the first place. So it's like these just watered down kind of shittier versions of things that have come out before.
Yeah. It's like the opposite of where like Moon Down and those kind of games go, where it's like there's like a authorial message and there's like intent, and it's like we're going to erase that layer, and it's just going to be about making something that like gets into people's like word of mouth streams, like gets on social media, gets into the zeitgeist, and it works super well with Halo. Like it's like aesthetically the same as it's ever been, but also, like it just hit that like whatever like spark that allowed it to explode into this like bigger phenomenon. But that's, I feel like I totally see that being the future of games, like being this like platforms that will get people like playing and talking about them and then buying the microtransactions. I mean, it's working. It's happening with movies as well. Like that's Marvel. Like the new Spider-Man is just look at all the old Spider-Mans put into a new movie. Like that's like they're copying what games are doing and they're putting it into a movie.
Yeah, and I think like anything that allows, maximum kind of promotion and minimum need to say anything specific enough that might alienate like any fraction of an audience is becoming very popular. Like, Far Cry 6 is, Ubisoft is very good at being they're the champs, I think, of, well, and more than anything else, I think you play those games and they are, we have stuff about this, and I still think like, I think Ed Smith, former co-editor of Bullet Points, when he wrote about Far Cry 5, I think like kind of nailed what those games are, and it's becoming what a lot of games are in general, like mainstream games, is they're so good at flooding you with like sort of like hints of something that might make you think of an actual opinion. Like they'll have a guy who's wearing like a red baseball cap that says like Baga on it, and then you're like, oh, and then someone else like shows up and then they're like, you know, wearing they put these little signifiers in all over the place to confuse you, and kind of like if you try to follow the thread of what they're actually saying, it becomes like headache inducing to like try to parse what the stuff is, and it all amounts to nothing. And it's
like,
like,
why did the grunts in Halo, why are they cute now? That really confuses me.
I like those guys.
Why did they have so much dialogue now?
Because that's a good.
But what?
It's the Joss
What is it
Whedonization.
saying?
It's the Joss Whedonization.
They're like saying they talk so much.
They do talk more than they need to. But remember, like, Yusuf, we played through original Halo. Those grunts they're pretty fun. They're always.
But they have they're like going on full monologues now. Like they're in like, I don't know, like it's giving something about giving them character. Like feels like it's like Halo being like, this doesn't mean anything. Like this is not a story. This is like you just want to have fun. And like so like when you like kill a guy and he's like cracking a joke while you kill him, then it's like more entertaining.
Yeah. They should mod the minions into Halo instead of grunts.
We have a lot more categories, but I feel like we should start getting to Game of the Year stuff. I came up with some quick categories that we can just really quickly run through here. Best roguelike. Did any of y'all play any of these? Curse of the Dead Gods, Rogue Book, Boyfriend Dungeon, Returnal, Into the Pit, Griftlands.
I briefly played Into the Pit, but there wasn't really much there to.
Yeah,
I dug Into the Pit. I actually
think
hey,
a game that's not listed that I think is actually really good is Rift Wizard, which is sort of like a roguelike. It's this kind of like 1-bit color. Almost it looks like a roguelike. Sorry, I guess it is a roguelike, but it looks like an old school roguelike. But you play as like a sorcerer, and you like combine stuff to make spells, and it's just like very, very, very well done. And it's like on the opposite end of something like Mondan that's like trying to like say something. Like I think this game is like so assuredly a video game, which is I think we talk about this on Bad End a bit as well, of like this like the line that you were sketching, Reed. I think the issue with it is like there's games that are like too scared to be video games because it's like uncool or something, so they try to ride this line of saying something to like build some cultural cachet. And I think Josh and I especially have just been like, just be a fucking video game. Like you just be a video game, and that's like there's more to talk about there. But when you put yourself in this like middle area, it's like you're in this sort of undefined space. And Rift Wizard is like a video game. It is not like there's nothing about this that's trying to like say something, and it's just like really well done. It's good. I also haven't played. Oh no, I won't say that one. But yeah, I would say Rift Wizard's on my list.
It's not making a critique of the masculinity of magic like in Laguinian Earthsea.
You know, Yusuf, it might be. It might be.
Bullet points, February edition. You got it.
I haven't played Returnal, but I feel like that would be the best roguelike.
Yeah, I think a
lot of people hated it. Like,
really?
though, it's kind of confusing that it's been retconned as like a great game, and then like when it came out, everyone was.
A lot of people loved it too.
Was mad about it because of the like performance, right? Like I remember reading Gareth was even tweeting about it, saying that it was just crashing all the time. So it could be like a.
I would say
played
maybe
a bit of it.
Into the Pit for me, probably, or Curse of the Dead Gods, probably Into the Pit.
Did you play Curse of the Dead Gods?
Me, yeah, I played a lot of Curse of the Dead Gods. It's all right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love the art style of that game, but I never played the actual thing.
Best shooting.
Outriders. Pew pew pew.
Splitgate.
Splitgate.
Oh yeah, Splitgate. I haven't played that one.
Best gun feel of.
I feel like it's cheating to say Halo.
Halo's also good.
Halo, like, you know.
Is Halo really better than Outriders, Reed?
Outriders felt good, actually. Like
that gun feel was solid. Those spell gun combos.
There was
Splitgate was better than Halo to me.
Outriders just has like the molasses third person issue. Everything just feels so like
but it hits though.
It ain't molasses
It's
when
like-
you get that blink skill on
It's
the
like
one
better
guy.
Gears of War. It's like fast Gears of War.
I think
Yeah.
I fucked
You know?
up by playing it on PS4. I should have played it on PC.
Maybe.
You know what?
Yeah.
It might be.
And like $60 on
I think
that.
you're right.
It might be Outriders.
With the multiplayer. I haven't played the campaign like Reed, so I don't have that to sour myself on just yet, and maybe I will. There's still time. But I've just been going at the multiplayer in the big boy.
For Halo?
The big boy big matches.
For only big
Yeah.
boys only. Only
for
big boys.
For only big boys. And even though I don't really know what any of the red guns do, I always feel like they suit some specific purpose that is just beyond me. But it's still like it's like a blast with an ever rotating gang of idiots. Like you all spawn and someone hops into the driver's seat of that warthog and you climb into the back and anything can happen from that point on. Maybe they'll drive you in a good angle, actually shoot someone. Maybe they're just about to drive you straight off a cliff. The culture of Halo, like I don't know if they're using like new filters or whatever, but the culture of Halo feels so different. Where, like, if I turn back when like Halo 3 was out and I was actually playing those games, like it was so toxic to like turn on that headset and just have people with like the robot voice chat on saying the most horrendous things in a year. And this time around, like when there are people with voice chat activated, all they're saying is like "yes sir" or like "I'm bad at this." Like that's all you hear now. You barely hear swears. You don't hear anyone cursing at each other. It's just like everyone's mind is at the point where they're just going "yes sir," whether or not they just like downed a banshee or just like slipped off into a bottomless pit. It's like the same neutral reaction to everything.
It does feel like the voice chat has gotten a little bit less ridiculous recently. That's a good trend.
I don't know. I did play some Call of Duty, and Call of Duty, just like Halo Infinite, like still holds kind of the title of
for sure.
excellent guns. Call of Duty has excellent guns as well, but Call of Duty holds on to the honor of most horrendous shit you're gonna hear in just like a public voice chat.
Counter-Strike is still awful.
Yeah, Counter-Strike's
Yeah, maybe it's
Very
less of
bad.
a games culture thing, and just like the most horrible gamers have decided which games they'll hold their ground on.
Yeah.
Imagine if
Stink Island.
Crusader Kings had voice chat.
No, it'd
You
be a bunch of
knave.
people. Yeah, it'd be.
You maidenless runt.
Kyle?
I think
Anything? Were you gonna
what
say
was
something?
Best shooting? I was gonna say Splitgate. Or sorry, Halo.
Yeah.
Splitgate or Halo. Honestly, I feel like I would not play Splitgate anymore. That Halo Infinite is like pretty good.
Halo sucks, dude. I hate the shooting in that game.
No, man.
Like, I just actually hate it. It just
You
feels very
you're
bad.
You're too in, like, you've been like getting
I've been
too,
Valo pilled.
try
dude.
harding at Valorant.
I've been
to,
Valorant pilled.
appreciate-
I'm
Yeah.
used to like shooting a gun and like knowing what's gonna happen.
Halo
will
is
say
great.
the thing-
Like,
So the thing though about Halo Infinite, that they don't tell you, is that the hit scan, if you're using a controller, is fucking insane. So if you were playing with a mouse and keyboard, it is like impossibly harder.
The hit
So-
scan is better when you're playing with controller.
Yeah.
Is this what you're telling me?
Because if you're
That's how it should
using a
be.
mouse and keyboard, it's like way narrower, so you have to like be incredibly precise. And if you're using a controller, you can just sort of like aim near them.
Halo is not about precision. Halo is like
Yeah, and it's like
It's like using-
aggressively bad, like, or it's like aggressively different to the point where it's like you were at a disadvantage playing at mouse and keyboard.
Halo. The guns, the best guns to me, always feel like it's like the enemies are, you know, like drawings, like charcoal drawings, and the guns are like big erasers. Like you're just like, "Meh," it's rubbish. Like just, and then eventually they just disappear. You know, Call of Duty or something like that is like, yeah, it's like drawing with a pencil. Halo's like crayons.
I hate tracking. Maybe that's why I don't really like. See, but that's the thing. Like Apex Legends, all about that's like a similar thing, the tracking stuff. But and I played a lot of Apex Legends. I just didn't really like it as much. But Halo, I actually just actively really dislike. Okay, let's go to the next thing. I had a couple more categories: best jumping, best crafting. But I think we should just go to our top 5 things, top games. I don't know how to do this because Reed, Yusuf, I know you guys probably want to talk about your favorite. I don't know if you want to spoil your stuff on here. So, I mean, we can maybe Kyle. I don't know if you want to do that. Kyle and I could also just give ours, and maybe Zach if you want. And then we can discuss those games as they come up. I assume there will be some overlap, but
yeah, that works for me.
Okay, so me, Kyle, and then Zach will do ours. Zach, you go first.
Yeah, so I'm good because I already tweeted my top 10 games of the year, paired with clown art. Paired with the clown art of American painter Robert Owen. As
Great.
My brain continues to deteriorate year after year if I come up with these pairings. But yes, No More Heroes 3 is probably my game of the year. Like I said before, it really rekindled that certain something of like, you know, renting a game at Blockbuster with like not a care in the world and no idea what's about to load on your PlayStation 2 when it finally does. Truly just Suda's creative synapses just firing off and complemented nicely with like combat that rules. I know like the original No More Heroes was always like an experiment in like what does a punk video game design aesthetic look like, and he's just created this like series of games about a habitual loser who like looks like the guy no one talks to at a bar called like Sugar Baby Daddy Colas or something. And throughout the series, like he's just sort of accidentally ended up with this character arc of like a guy who originally got into the field of being a superhero assassin to get laid into a guy who finally realizes that actually the best thing in life is to drink beers and talk about Takashi Miike movies with a couple of buddies. And is only thrust back into the fray because like a space alien that's like a version of him if his dad owned a car lot is now threatening to destroy the planet. Just like this new outer space sociopath with like all these bizarre alien friends of theirs. And if you don't mow them down, if you don't pick up that sword one last time, you know, the whole planet's going to blow up. And that just means no more cool samurai movies. And that's going to be a big problem for
no more
Travis
lawn
Touchdown.
beers.
No more beers. And yeah, so for like reasons for like that, and just sort of like consolidating a certain antithesis to everything you'd usually want or to market a game around, while still like genuinely being fun. It's not like I don't enjoy it merely as like a piece of spite towards like the conventional commercial video game. It is genuinely it's genuinely fun to play. It's genuinely the combat's genuinely fun. I genuinely really engage with like how I'm chaining these combos together, how I'm using these like death chips arts to lock all these enemies in like these truly brutal combos, just like making these horrible space people and sending them packing. And yes, because it focuses its creative energy on not like convincing or high fidelity graphics, but just like having all these artists collaborate to like constantly pull these cards out of its sleeve. And yes, that's what I want out of games. I want the magic trick. I can go to any game now to like wade through a realistic environment and find out that their post-apocalyptic world sucks for X, Y, and Z reason. Or I can go toe-to-toe with cotton candy monsters who are playing a lethal game of musical chairs. And I know which one I'm going to opt for, because one just feels more exclusive and special than the other.
It seems dope. I will definitely play that.
All right.
Who's next?
I'll go next. I only have 3. And they're so boring. I don't know. It's such a weird year in video games. I guess like my number 3 is, I guess, Splitgate.
Ouch.
For no other reason.
Ouch, dude.
For no other reason.
Oh my god. Okay.
I really like Splitgate. I think it was just like I think I was just like really, really surprised by it, in the sense that like it's the sort of core conceit sounds so corny. It's like it's like Halo but with portals, and I think there's a way when you hear that where that sounds like too insane and like kind of crazy and whatever. But the way they go about doing the portal system by kind of limiting it to certain walls and stuff makes the gameplay be like really fun and sort of compelling. And yeah, I just had a really good time. Like, I think Splitgate was a really good game for a while, where I would just like, it's like what I would play after work for like an hour or two. I would just like open up Splitgate and just like fuck around. And it was good. I feel like it's worth saying a lot of the shit that I didn't play this year that I still really want to play. Like, I really want to play Wildermyth. That looks like that's like right up my fucking alley. So I really want to play that and see if that is good. All the stuff that I mentioned, Genesis Noir, Mundan, XO1, Psychonauts 2, that's all shit I want to play, but I just didn't get around to it. I think like there's one thing that's like, I don't know, when thinking about my list this year, I think unlike any other year before this, this is like I've been, as of like early November, this past November, like a month ago, marks like a year of full production on Cantata. And there's just like something about like working on video games for 8 hours a day for a year that like I stopped playing. Like I get done with work and I like don't really want to play a video game because I'm just like in it, like fucking like inches from my face all day. So like the stuff that I gravitated towards this year was definitely stuff that was like get in, get out, fix games. And like Bloodborne, I don't remember when I started that, but that's like I'll play that like late at night or something. It's just sort of like a play before I go to bed or whatever. But the other stuff is like a lot of my recreational time was just like, I don't want to play a video game. So I'm just like, I'm making this game. And this is sort of a new experience for me because I was sort of in games before that, but like this right now, I'm just literally every day working on video games. So I think my list is sort of colored by that. So Splitgate for a while was the best thing to jump in and out of.
Is that your only game that you have here?
I have 3 games.
Okay.
Yeah, Splitgate's not the only game. No. What do you got?
Oh, let's say Resident Evil Village. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't play that either.
Yeah.
That looked good.
It was one of those video games, and it was very pulpy. It was just fun to play. It was like, it wasn't scary, but it was like it had that like fun, scary aspect to it where it's just like a joy. I feel like it had the Paranormal Activity thing where it was like, oh, you're going to scare me. Like, it's just this fun, like back and forth where the game is like, it's trying to spook you. And when it happens, you're like, oh, you got me. And then it's just, you just do go. It's that for like however many hours you're playing the game. The shooting is fun. Like actually playing the game is nice. There's some beautiful scenery and environments in there. It's just the fidelity and graphics are just like wonderful. And then just like the art direction is just cool. I enjoyed it, and the ending is just it nails the landing. So that's what's up.
I wish that game was just never tried to be serious at all, because it sucks so bad.
But even when it's trying to be serious, it doesn't feel like it's strictly trying to be serious to me. Like, it always feels kind of corny, and I don't want to say it feels intentional, because I don't know if it's that deep, but it never got to the point where like it felt like it was taking itself so seriously that it was off-putting to me.
Yeah.
But if it was,
I like the monsters. There's some great monsters in that.
Yeah.
Some great little freaks. It's top video game freaks of the year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like the lake, the like frog man.
Moreau.
Yeah, that guy's a Hall of Famer. He's
when he jumps out and he's like,
what about the doll, the wedding doll?
She's pretty good.
When you stab the doll in the face, and it's just, she's like, ah! Great
that
moment.
stuff is extremely solid.
Yeah.
I was shocked that people were saying that part was like I understand that's the scariest part. Yeah, I didn't find any of the game, especially, it's all sort of like delightful and corny.
Yeah, same.
Even if it fails as like being chilled to the bone, it's still like constantly entertaining. Like, yeah, even like the running around from how's running around from like a giant baby saying gaga da, like that's not intimidating at all. That's like that's funny.
Okay, that was disgusting.
Being chased by baby Annette.
Yeah, that was disgusting, but it was also amazing at the same time.
Sorry, Zach just had a great Leo's Carax pool. That was
Kyle got it.
Let's talk about fucking Annette on the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, Kyle.
Back to me.
Yeah.
This one's related to the second one, or the one I just said. I'm gonna put Halo Infinite on there, man. I think like Splitgate. I'm sorry, but when you try to be like a Halo game, and a Halo game comes out that's a better Halo game, then like it's over. And I see myself playing Halo Infinite basically until, I don't know, Overwatch 2 comes out and is like really good. Like Halo Infinite now feels like the shooter that I will be playing for the next like however long, until something else subsumes that. For a while it was Overwatch, and then I stopped playing stuff a bit because I got tired of playing Overwatch, and then I was really into Splitgate. And Infinite now is like, I think especially because it's like it's very active as like a games community right now. You just fucking launch a match. It's also like, I'm so glad to have like arena games back and none of this like 45-minute battle royale bullshit. Like, I get in, I play a game, I get out. Like, it doesn't take a long time. It's fun. I know it will feel good. I know that I'll get like a little bit better. And even like compared to just like, I mean, actually today, of the time of recording this podcast, they literally just put out a proper Slayer playlist. So you don't have to like fucking deal with Oddball and King of the Hill and all that shit. You can just go in, get your Slay on, get out. You don't have to like move a fucking crate across the map and like sit next to it and defend it or something. You don't have to like do other shit. It's like, I want to go in and kill some people and then get out. And that's like all I want to do. And Infinite feels fucking good. The skill ceiling feels really high. Like just the maps are good. The game looks good. I haven't played the campaign yet, so this is fully on the multiplayer side of it. But I think of stuff I've enjoyed this year, I am really enjoying Infinite.
God, this list is fucking.
So that's my.
This list is gonna look basic
like the number
as
4
fuck.
game on my list. It's a fucking basic list, man. I'm not even gonna lie.
If you like, I like, Kyle, that in your list though, it's like, and when you said like sorry Slipgate, but then Halo came out, I do like the poetic justice of when a game is just like a fucking rip off. Like, like what are people playing? Like they're playing like, what's the Dark Souls rip off that has like a guy in a mech suit or something? And they're like, this is pretty good. And then like Sekiro comes out, and they're like, oh, never mind.
Never mind.
Like,
Sorry.
Remnant from the Ashes.
Yeah.
That
There's
was-
a
There was
lot
that
of-
one with that. There was that. Yeah, I know you're talking about the mech suit one. When I never played it, but yeah, but it was like Dark Soulsy.
They're like, oh, it's like Dark Souls.
But you
It's
can't
like
compete with
pretty
the
good.
OG. You can't compete with the OG.
And like
No.
Infinite comes out and they're like, oh shit.
But
Yeah.
is that maybe like that's interesting because it's like to your point of like the future of games being infinitely returning, no pun intended, to like the past. Like Splitgate tried to do something different. I mean, granted, they tried to do it by like pastiching up like mechanics from a
Yeah.
very famous shooter, but it's also like there's something where people just want the original thing that they like, and then it's like that's kind of games of 2021.
I do think there's something with that of like it's not there's this current in games that it sort of goes against what I'm saying, which is also true, which is that like I don't think like the first person shooter had to go past where we did with like Halo 3. Like I feel like we got to a good point, right? And even like Valorant, right? Like Valorant is a lot like Counter-Strike. It's like Counter-Strike with powers. Fine. Like I don't like see us like needing to sort of move forward so far where like, yeah, I think like maybe around that time, like Counter-Strike really nailed it. Like Halo really nailed their style. Call of Duty nailed their style or whatever. But I think the weird thing is that like there's this feeling that you both like can't do that and just like do the same thing but different. But then also like it's weird to play like Age of Empires 4 where it feels like such an obvious like
Capitulation almost.
look at that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like because they did 3 and 3 was pretty different compared to 2. And like it's like, okay, well, like if you're gonna just make Age of Empires 2 again, like why did you go this direction for 3? Granted, like the fucking studio's been through a million different hands or whatever. But yeah, there's something with like we both like want things that are new and feel new, but at the same time, like if you sold me Halo 3 to play on PC, I would probably be interested in doing that because it would still feel good. Like games, like it's I think especially like in the past decade or 2 decades, like we've just gotten better at game design. And because of that, like games don't like age from a mechanics perspective as fast as they did. Like you go back and like play a fucking board game from the 50s and they'll feel like a piece of shit. Like you play like a game from 10 years ago and that'll probably feel decently okay in a way that when you like grew up with like the PlayStation or like N64 or like whatever, like 10 years before that was like a fucking lifetime ago. It's like everything could be improved on from then. So we're like reaching
Yours,
into
Monopoly.
this moment. Yeah, we're like getting into this moment where like games don't really like age as quickly. We're just better at what we do now. So it's not like because it's now, you know, a year after a game came out that somehow that game is like old, even as games themselves are like, I don't know, like we always still want that chase of the new, but it's not like, and like playing Bloodborne right now, like Bloodborne has come out, it's almost a fucking decade ago, and I'm like playing this and it's like still feels fresh, and that's like great.
There's also the big thing too of like what is chased as innovation versus like kind of like comfort food in games. Like you look at something, and I think the thing about a Dark Souls imitator or something is if one of those games that is trying to kind of do the Dark Souls style does it and kind of does it with, you know, the thing about From is that they made 3 Dark Souls, and then even though they're making games that are sort of similar in design, they're also coming up with different stories and different aesthetics. And,
Yeah.
you know, you could tell it's by the same group of people and it, you know, shares like the spirit. But like if they were making Dark Souls 7 instead of Elden Ring coming out next year, then like who gives a shit? But they are sort of using the same thing. Like a Halo Infinite that was about entirely different characters that had nothing to do with anything that's been done in Halo before, and you know, it could still be and was designed like Halo 3 or something. Like that could be a really good game. It's just
Yeah.
Technically,
Yeah.
it's Destiny.
well, yeah, yeah. If
Hey
Destiny could
yo,
if Destiny they could just figure out how to like
ring the bell.
sell me the new thing without, you know, needing to hire an expert to buy it for me, then
I just think
You
there's
see-
like there's
yeah.
like a model here that is like game studios. I think it's like as players like getting less reactionary against stuff that's like not like just totally new, and being more comfortable with like a studio or studios or iterating around a theme or something. I think like some of the best studios do this, like From, or even like you play an Insomniac game and you sort of know what you're gonna get in that, and that's like the theming around that changes, but there's this sort of like mechanical callback to previous entries, or like Rockstar, right, is a good example too. Like
Yeah,
you know what you're
the
getting with a Rockstar
remasters.
game. Yeah, and every one of their games is sort of like an iteration on that. I think that the thing that
Yeah.
is like more crass is when people try to sell those things or pitch them as sort of new things or something, and they never really get like backpedaled. Like in some ways, I feel like the narrative around Infinite was that like this is the Halo that you've like known and loved, which is like more honest, maybe like a harder pill to swallow because you want to think of yourself as some big outgoing person who wants to play all the fun new stuff, but like really you want to play Halo 3 on PC, and that's really what they're doing for you. I don't know.
I think
where
it's
this point is going.
No, I think that is actually like fully the dual streams of games, like where it's like we have terrible archiving and like the ability to play old games, but people also just want to play the old games. Like
Yeah.
that is what fucking games are. Like we're just making the old games over and over again because
play the
games
old
are
games that
super
Quake
hard to
did.
make. Games are
They're
like yeah, interesting games are really, really, really hard to make.
They're gonna make HD versions of every PS1 JRPG, and I'm gonna be tempted to buy each.
Yeah,
and
you
every
are.
one of them.
Hell yes.
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like it is true, like with Kyle, what you were saying before too, is like you can play Halo Infinite now, and it's not going to take you long to get into a match. And
Yeah.
that, that is something you can't discount, right? Like the fact that like I'll say, yeah, Halo 2 is right there to play the campaign or whatever. But like if I want to play some Halo multiplayer, you kind of gotta I don't know.
Master
It's
Chief
really
Collection.
it's true.
Just-
I did find matches in Master Chief Collection like a year ago or something.
Yeah, it's weird that Master Chief Collection is also Mass Effect came out this year, the Legendary Edition. We didn't really mention that. That
Speaking
came
of,
out
like,
this year.
Yeah,
Sure
that
did
came
come out this year.
Oh my god.
It's like we're just forever replaying the past.
Yeah, it stings. I don't know.
Psychonauts
Sorry.
2. That's
Speaking
my
of
next
replaying the
installment.
past.
Sort of, but it's like this is the Psychonauts 2 is the Breath of the Wild thing that Kyle talks about a lot, where it's like what you experienced in the first game, if they actually had the resources to do it to the extent that your imagination wishes that it could, and it fully goes there with it, which is why I really like that game. I actually haven't finished it yet, but it's just like the amount that I played, it was like this is clearly above and beyond just imagination wise, just way above and beyond a lot of what other video games are doing right now with regards to like art direction and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just an instant placement on this list for me.
Yeah, it also feels like it's like they had a desire to make Psychonauts 2. Like it wasn't, whether this is true or not, it feels like there was an urge to make this. Like they're like, oh, there's more we want to do with this. Like you could kind of see it being, maybe there's 3 Psychonauts, right? Like it's kind of a continuing story about growing up and, past generations, like coming of age and reckoning with your parents' generation and everything. Yeah, it doesn't feel cynical. It doesn't feel like, okay, well, let's make another one.
Right.
Let's make some money.
Which easily could have.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle?
Oh, I had Infinite. Oh, was your Psychonauts 2?
Yeah.
Oh.
That wasn't my game of the year. It was just...
Oh, no. I have my game of the year.
What's your game of the year?
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Oh, Zach, do you have any more?
Oh, other than
No More Heroes
3? I don't know, I really liked Inscription. I think a lot of
Yeah, I
good
guess
games
Inscription
of the
would be
year.
on this list. Check out Zach's list for more.
Yeah.
I put
Zach's Twitter.
I put my whole damn clown list out for all to see.
Yeah.
On my Twitter, if you want to see clowns and games that I liked.
Always my favorite thing.
Yeah, Psychonauts 2's up on in there, Cruelty Squad, but Inscription
Cruelty Squad
outbreaks.
this year.
Yeah,
it was.
It was like in the
Really?
springtime. Yeah.
Wasn't it in like? Was it in early access for a long time?
It was in early access for like a little blip, and then it
okay.
suddenly sort of tumbled out
Huh.
as this beautiful sludge baby of goo, and like imagine you like just like you were having a nightmare about that old maze screensaver.
Yeah, that's very, very on point.
That is, yeah.
I gotta play more of that. I was like,
there's just like a lot of horrible things
Is it-
to do in that game. It's
does it like go somewhere?
It depends how far you're willing to go with it. Like it goes some weird place. If you want, like, I would recommend like playing it on your own and seeing where it ends up taking you. And if you feel like you missed out on something, watch Civi's very thorough video of like the true endings you can uncover.
That makes me feel 30 years old, like looking at multiple endings. Just like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah. Straight to YouTube.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll go look at the video.
If that.
And
You said it makes you feel 30 years old?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 30 years old right now.
Okay, so it'll make you feel exactly as old as you currently are.
As old as I am.
Yeah, it took me a moment to remember, like, oh yeah, that'd make me younger if I was.
Yeah.
on the
I'm 30 right now.
I think it makes you feel like you're in your 30s as much.
Makes me feel like I'm in my 30s, where I'm like, seeing like alternative ending does not make me be like, I can't wait to play this again next weekend. I'm like, all right, well, I'll watch the YouTube video of that and peace. I think my game of the year and hour to minute 23 of this podcast.
Jesus.
I think the sweet 2.5 weeks where I played Valheim were some of the most pure gamer ecstasy moments of 2021 for me. It's just like, I'm not even sure that I haven't played that game really since then. They have like weirdly not updated it like at all, which is kind of I'm not someone to like call out developers because I mean massive solidarity, but like what are y'all doing? It's like it's the biggest fucking game of 2021 and there's been like kind of one update. And just like that, just playing that and like just going back into like full like young gamer where I'm like staying up late, like way too late, playing this game with friends in this like shared world and like having, you know, dynamic emergent video game experiences together, henceforth unseen. Like chopping a tree down and having it fall on someone, it's fucking like just you can't beat that. There's like nothing in games has beat that this year. And like just fucking with that physics stuff, like you would knock a tree off a cliff, and then just like watch it roll down and knock down other trees and stuff, and then you could like dig like rivers to kind of like log yourself back into your town, and like just even like all the like the sort of Norsey stuff in that game where you first find the islands that are like giant turtles, or like it being like really misty and like you're sailing back into the like port that you and your friends made,
or when you get like one shot by the stuff in the next section that you're not supposed to be at, or you're sailing and you're with your friends and everything goes wrong, and or sharing knowledge that with your friends about like how you do this thing, like, oh, how do you make the ground a different level, like all these different little interactions, showing off your creations to your friends, building a village with your friends is really, really cool. And like just all those interactions were just so, it felt like the pinnacle of where games have been taking us for a while, with a lot of multiplayer interaction.
Yeah. The reason I stopped playing it, which like really sucks, was that like we had like, I guess there were like 8 to 10 of us on the server, which is like right around the max, if not a little bit over. And the game just fucking falls apart if there's like too many people in the same area.
Oh yeah.
And like too much stuff. So like we had to start doing this thing where like we literally couldn't have everybody in the same. We were basically all sort of settled around like a cove, but because there was like so much stuff and people, we had to just start like spreading out along the coast. And then once like everyone spreads out, it's like you're just sort of by yourself kind of, and you can like kind of go see people. And so a lot of the sort of magic kind of dissipates there. But for a moment there, it was beautiful. The dream.
My game of the year, I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody.
You haven't mentioned it at all.
I have purposely refrained from talking about it at any other point in this podcast because I want to be able to gush about it a little bit right now, because this is one of the best games I've ever played in my life, y'all. Like Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker.
Endwalker too, not just 14 generally, but Endwalker specifically.
Endwalker specifically, and Shadowbringers, but Endwalker, yeah. Endwalker is that. It's that game. I don't really know how to describe, like, this is the game that gives me the most hope for the future of games, in a way, in that like video games could do this, but most video games won't, because like most developers don't want to do this shit. It's not in their best interest to do any of the things that Final Fantasy. Coconut says we're going to hit the 4-hour mark. It's not in their best interest to do any of this shit, dude. Like, what's crazy about this game is that it's like, think about like the games as a service, episodic content, all these like huge, massive movements that have been happening over the past few decades of video games. And this game is like it is exactly where you wished all of those things would go. It's this game where everything in it is context. Every single mission you do, every interaction you have with other players, it's placed in this realm of like context, not just from a story standpoint, because really every single mission every single person you interact with is part of this larger story that it's constantly building up on itself from the game's initial launch with A Realm Reborn, like a decade ago. But also like thematically, all of your interactions are like, it's part of the story's theme, like, which is bonkers to me. Like, they really take the community and like what the game is about, and your interactions are like really supposed to be what this game's themes are. And it puts those in front of you in Endwalker. And I'm not going to spoil anything, because this game is like, it feels really bad to spoil this game to me, because we're talking about like potential hundreds of hours worth of investment of people putting in, and like this stuff being part of the payoff of that. But also not just because like if a story can be ruined by the plot being exposed, like it's probably not a good game. I agree with that to a large extent, but a lot of this stuff is experiential stuff where you've been building these images of things in your mind, and then like this game is sending you there. Imagine if like you had heard legends of like, or when you were a kid and you heard about like, dang, what if there was like a portal through the wall that I could go through and there was like something on the other side? Or what if like what if Pokemon were real? Stuff like that, right? Where like they have this world that has these walls within it, but it sets up walls that can be broken, and there could be things beyond those walls, and it breaks those walls in front of your face. And that's the kind of thing that it's just so impressive to me, that I can be sent to an entire MMO region and just my mind being boggled that I'm actually in this place talking to these people, because like it's been set up like that to me. I don't know. It'd be like, I don't really know how to describe what's happening here. Like just the amount of context that is there, they can send you to places that feel powerful. And that's
sort of like they're like alluded to as parts of the story like 30 hours ago, and you like find yourself.
Yes, or some of them are not alluded to, but they're places that like you're still sent to, that you're just like, I cannot believe this is a place that exists and that I am here, type of thing. And that's one thing about video games in general to me, is that a lot of incredible sights that we see in video games are presented without context. And for that reason, we can be looking at these amazing images, we can be looking at these amazing places, but a lot of the time they don't really mean anything to us. But that's why some places to exist within video games are so much more appealing than others. Like if I look at a game like Cyberpunk, that game was like, I've always wanted, and this was like a thing in Tim Rogers' Cyberpunk video where he was like, I've always wanted like a open world Blade Runner game where you can just like exist in this cyberpunk world, right? And that's like what Cyberpunk was supposed to be delivering. But that's the reason why that world was compelling as a concept, is because we had this context within the culture behind it, and we just had not had the sandboxification of said world that had been created in our heads. But Final Fantasy XIV sets up those type of things within its own world building and lore, and then it actually lets you exist in those spaces with other players, which is like, it's bonkers. Like and everyone who's there is just clearly just happy to be existing in this world, and it bleeds through, and just like the interactions that you have and the people that are there and the ways that like people talk about and experience this game, it's the nexus of all these different developments in technology and the industry, in a way that like feels generous. It feels like it cares about you. It feels like it's trying new things that nobody would go for. Some of the stuff that's happening in Endwalker is stuff that's just, it's like Kojima levels of like, wow, they're actually, if they have this money and they're doing something totally bonkers with it. And like, I'm not just talking about like, you know, just the basic themes that we talk about in other games. Like they're talking about the meaning of life, like fucking religion. A lot of the game feels like its own religion type. Like it feels like there's religions in this game that could be fucking real. I don't know. There's just an endless amount of context, and it's all used, and it's all leading to something bigger than itself. And it's one of my favorite games ever. If not my favorite game ever. Like this Final Fantasy XIV has become like that stature of game for me.
I have a question. I'm trying to make, like, because I have no reference. Is it like if you could go to Anor Londo and Dark Souls, like before it gets fucked up? Yes. Is that the idea?
Yes, exactly that. Like,
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
What's the city in Disco Elysium that you don't get to go to?
Jamrock.
Is that like the big, like that's like the metropolis?
Yes,
so. Martinez is like
or if you could see stuff before the revolution. But the thing about those games too is that even if there was a sequel to these games that let you go to these places, it would be like a hallway with some like buildings in the background or whatever, and it wouldn't like be what you had imagined it to be. But this game is like, it feels like fan service to the extent to which, because it fleshes out those spaces just as much as it fleshes out everything else that you've ever seen. So it's like you could exist in these spaces and learn about them for weeks easily. And so it's like it feels like an actual space. And the only way that they can do that is because they have this model where you're paying on a month-to-month basis. You know, it's a game as a service, really. And that's what they're delivering, is like they're delivering this world building at a massive scale. But they're sending you to places that are not just like the next zone. It's like these places that they've been setting up for years and years and years. So they're actually taking its legacy and using that to boost the experience and send you to places that you never thought were possible. And I don't know, like, it's all of that stuff just gives me faith for the future of games.
I haven't played. I played up to the end of Shadowbringers, which I felt like I was maybe cooler on it than a lot of people, but I very much understand what you're saying, and also the Shadowbringer stuff is also stuff that like if you know I think if you get invested in that game enough to play 24 hours of it, then you're probably going to be locked into what it keeps doing, even when the story kind of like slows down or becomes a little boring in bits and pieces, and you don't really want to hear about like what happens in Shadowbringers. But there's also the same thing where I think like we talk about stuff like Halo Infinite and these games that are kind of, it's like the Marvel model of you keep expanding this universe forever and finding ways to tack on new bits of fiction to it. And that's obviously has to be in part what's happening with Final Fantasy XIV, but the thing that's actually really interesting about it is that it just feels like a massive story that it's like they have it all ready to go. It's just when they have the funding to keep writing it is kind of how it feels. Like it's I know what you mean, Josh. Like these expansions barely feel like they are something that's tacked on. It just kind of feels like, oh well, you're continuing to read this incredibly long story. And they do, and the sense of, because it's like an MMO, your relationship to these digital spaces, like just as architecture, becomes so intimate. And same thing with like a lot of the characters too, is you spend so much time with them, and especially with like the locations, you spend so much time just getting to know, even for example, like, oh, if I'm talking to this person over here and I jump over this staircase, I can get down here faster, and it like imprints something on your brain where it feels like, you walk to work the same way every day, and you're like, oh well, I go down this alley or cut through this like parking lot because I know this space, this is how I get to places, and it becomes like part of your mental geography.
Right.
Yeah, those queues though, I keep seeing screenshots, so I'm not going to play Endwalker until...
You can wait. Yeah, you can wait on it. Don't worry about that.
It's a long time to wait, though.
They're getting less bad. And also, like, if you play them in off hours, the queues aren't really bad. But, I mean, yeah, it's just... This game is... Man, it goes some places. What's nuts is that I've had to slow down in this game so I don't exhaust all the story stuff too fast, which is bonkers for a game that's probably, like, 80 hours. Like I want to juice it even more because it feels like it's all moving too fast for me, which is not a thing I've ever experienced in a game this long before.
I saw someone in the Bad End Discord's already like beat it.
Oh yeah, that's happened, and I probably would have if I haven't stopped myself. But I'm like, I'm gonna go do crafting shit now because I don't want to like exhaust the rest of the story because it's so good. I'm just, there's scenes in here that is like stuff that you would experience in a Kojima game. I can really only compare it to like where they're breaking fourth walls and shit and like doing stuff that you would never like. It's wild, the stuff that they're doing in this game. I don't know.
Josh, that all sounds very cool and very exciting, but can anyone dress up like Deadpool and do a funny dance?
Is it the metaverse or like
it's the metaverse for sure. I ordered Grubhub in real life so that I could get a pizza eating emote in the game. So that if that's not the metaverse,
oh my god,
I don't know what is.
I saw that, and
all right, yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. I want to make this Bad Ends game of the year.
Endwalker?
Yes.
Wow, Kyle, are you okay with this?
Listen, I have no strong opinions on any of the games that are on my list this year.
Not Valheim? You played it for 1 month?
No, I don't. I feel like the Bad End choice that I don't think either Josh or I have played is probably like Mundan or like Psychonauts 2, but neither of us have like...
I didn't beat Psychonauts 2, but I played enough of it. Like I have to be mostly done with that game, and it's not gonna be Final Fantasy 14 for me.
I feel like I became my role to pick like a Gotys. If you want to say it's Endwalker, I feel like Endwalker also it aligns in sort of the theme of this year for my list as well, which is like it was just like stuff that was fun to get into and play with friends.
Yeah. And
I think that Endwalker seems like it's up there. And I did try Final Fantasy 14 however long ago this year.
The big caveat to this is the first A Realm Reborn is bad. It's pretty bad. And I would like if someone's gonna get into this game because of my endorsement or something, maybe just fucking buy a skip to like level 70 or something.
You can't do that though.
I know.
You're gonna miss out on.
But if you like watch videos and just like do a little bit of story catch up stuff before you get into it, I think that's doable. Like if you just start at Shadowbringers, like I think you could. I don't know.
Hey, can I give my advice on this?
Yes.
Very quickly, as someone who managed to podcast about every Kingdom Hearts game.
Yes.
And played through Final Fantasy 13 with Yusuf. This is the way you gotta do these things. Is like, what's the saying? Like a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? You gotta just slow and steady. It's like when you're, I don't know. In university I lived like pretty far from downtown, so whenever I'd walk home like at 2 a.m. wasted, it would just be like one step. Get to the end of this street, and then you get to the next street, and eventually I'll be home, and maybe I can like eat a piece of dry bread and then go to bed. And you look forward to that. And I think like with these, Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn is not as bad as Kingdom Hearts, and I endured. But you just play it for like half an hour in the morning. You just keep chipping away, and eventually you're at the stuff where you're like, it's not that long. And if
I think Reed, you like over
sick.
No, you're not sick, but I think you don't understand how good you are at playing through games that are bad. Like that is a skill that you have that I do not have. Final Fantasy 13 was fucking so hard to finish. Like it was like I was like pulling my hair, and it's not even that bad a game, but it's like boring, and I just couldn't keep pushing myself. It was like so hard to push myself through it.
The nice thing about Final Fantasy 14 is that if you ever get bored, you can just look at the party finder, and there's like people having a party, and you can just go hang out at one of these parties and just witness some of the craziest shit that you've ever seen in a video game in your fucking life.
I guess so. Like your Halloween party that you went to.
I went to a Halloween party with some friends, and there was like 300 people there, and it was one of the wildest things I've ever seen in a video game in my entire life. This game has Anyway, I'm just saying there's options when you get bored in this game.
Wait, how's like the Stardew Valley stuff in Endwalker? Because that like piqued my interest.
I've never touched it because
really? At all?
I have there's systems in this game that you will never touch. And that's okay.
Stuff.
There's so much stuff.
It's just a.
It is a metaverse,
world.
Right?
It's a whole world. It's a whole world unto itself.
Maybe
I'm still learning about systems in this game.
Maybe the Zuck would have done better if he just tried to buy Final Fantasy 14 for people to live in.
Just imagine him showing up in his like marketing video and like rabbit ears.
Like, armor. Rabbit ears.
Konnichiwa, everyone.
Hello. Same with the little bowl cut.
I love to play games.
Sia is here.
I feel like Sia would kind of fit into Final Fantasy 14.
They did a promo video with Sia for Final Fantasy 14.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she showed up in some metaverse thing. I thought I was
Final Fantasy 14.
Dog wagging the tail.
Game of the year is Final Fantasy 14.
Well, Josh, you should check out 15 then, because that's the next installment.
You should check out Forspoken, the game that killed 15.
Forspoken.
God.
With the hip hop walk.
Ranger in Paradise.
So the writing is really good, dude. In Endwalker, the writing is
Final
so
Fantasy
good.
Is the best when it's in its like Baroque mode.
That's
That's what Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 14 is like Final Fantasy 12, but better. And I love Final Fantasy 12's writing. Anyway, that's all I got.
Let's wrap it up. We're almost at
Let's
3
wrap
hours.
it. Yes. What a Goaty cast, everyone. Thank you to everyone for being here. Yusuf, Zach, Reed, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It was great. Yeah.
We do have other end of the year content that Bullet Points will be doing. Bullet Points, what are you guys up to for the end of the year stuff? Where can people find that?
I'll go ahead, Yusuf. You're not jumping into it. Terrible salesman. We're gonna do as we have done for many years now. We'll do we do a game of the year type end of year podcast that we do most like favorite and least favorite for it'll be Yusuf and I, and Ethan Gatch of Kotaku will be returning as his holiday tradition, and Nicole Carpenter of Polygon, who was also on last year. And so I think when you're listening to this, that'll probably be up or about to be up very soon. And then other than that, the site itself is not doing any like wild end of year stuff. We're just finishing up some stuff on Battlefield and then moving on to Halo, and then it'll be 2022.
Before you know it.
Before you know it.
Before your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Zach?
Should I talk more about how Bullet Points is good?
Zach,
You should
Zach,
go.
what's fun then?
We're just getting the second issue together, ready to roll it out.
and check out
Passion.
Zach's top 10 on Twitter and retweet
Yes.
that and stuff. It's fun.
Great wild ride.
You can
Clowns.
join us all on Discord if you support our shows, if you support our stuff. Check us out, Bad End Pod Cast on Twitter. I guess you can find us there. Check out Bullet Points, bulletpointsmonthly.com, Funland magazine. Just Google us, all that stuff. You can support us and join our community. It's all really really easy. What's up?
Make sure to rep Gareth as well. They're not here, but must be represented.
Gareth Heterotopias, new issue Power. Check that out.
Which actually, I'm working on the next issue of that as well.
Read.
There's another issue coming out
Wow.
Exclusive.
before too much.
Another issue within
And-
a year?
Well, I think that was talked about before. It's like, like part 2. Yeah,
Gareth,
can you believe it, Yusuf? Like
Power Part 2. I love
Gareth like takes time
Power.
putting together articles instead of just doing them constantly.
Whatever.
Losing your mind.
That sounds dumb. It's better to just really kill yourself on
You really
a
gotta,
monthly
you gotta
basis.
kill yourself to get all your bad parts out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta get
Sorry for
those buy
sorry
mutant
for-
takes.
Yeah.
Gareth and Reed also
Sorry for
doing the Superculture
interrupting.
review, Berserk. They will be picking that up. But yeah, that's us. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you had a
Yes,
great
sir.
2021. The video games,
Yes, sir.
not the best year for games, but here's wishing for a better 2022.
I think 2022 is gonna be.
That's what
wild.
I'll remember. That's what I'll remember about 2021. Not
I
the
just
best
feel
year
like-
for games.
2022. We got Elden Ring. That's gonna come out.
We're gonna get good games. We're gonna get unionization. Let's go. 2022.
Yeah.
Goals. Hashtag
I'm gonna
goals.
try to get 5 booster shots next year.
You're gonna become so
Every shot.
powerful.
You get the badge for each one.
I'm gonna see how many COVIDs I can get.
I'm gonna go get vaccinated.
COVID 20, baby.
GTA 5 roll.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the arch nemesis hero story in the making.
Yeah, if me and Reed start approaching each other, our atomic matter starts to dissipate.
It'll be like Akira or something.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the new year. Later.
Bye.
Bye.